Welcome back to another UCL Fantasy deadline stream, this time at a match day 3 where we have some tough fixtures for some of the best teams in Europe, but there are some promising fixtures and it could be a great time to use a chip this week, either the Wildcard or Limitless, which will be team dependent for your specific cases, but I think the Limitless in many of the scenarios will be the best option. However, if you don't have that many Barcelona or Bayern Munich players facing each other, you might not have too many from Borussia Dortmund or a suspended goalkeeper like the Juventus one, you may actually want to just use 2 free transfers, but it's all team dependent and we've got around 2 hours until the deadline, and beyond that we'll still be going live and answering questions and thoughts and just really chilling for the rest of the duration of the stream. But let's get straight into your comments and questions as always. Also check out the pinned comment as that will make things quite clear. So if you're respectful and stay patient, your questions will be answered, but any repeat questions may be skipped, of course, for the purpose of kind of repetition, and spamming will not be tolerated. But smash the like button and subscribe for new if you enjoy my content. We're actually very close to getting towards 29,000 subscribers and we're going to hit it today, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and smash the like button as we have an ambitious aim of getting this to the 400 likes on YouTube. But let's get straight into the first question, and hopefully it's not kind of tapped in. I think it is actually, but I think I can still be able to read it. So the first question is by Venom. Will Lautaro start tonight according to that newspaper close to Inter Milan? No. A lot of the reports indicate that Lautaro Martinez will not start tonight. That isn't set in stone, but there is this kind of consensus that Inter Milan will rotate quite heavily. They'll still put a strong side out because they need to win this game. They've got Arsenal at home next in the Champions League, but I think in the grand scheme of things, Young Boys is an achievable fixture for them to get the 3 points, even with some rotation happening. Kalinoglu and Acerbi are ruled out, so don't go for those options in UCL Fantasy, and if you've got them, then definitely be sure to sell them. But with Lautaro Martinez, I don't think he'll start. Instead, it should be Taremi and also Arnautovic up front. So I think Taremi will be my favourite Inter Milan attacker for matchday 3. And I'll be showing you some different kind of sources and stuff that I've seen on Twitter, just so you've got all the latest information as well. Hey Dylan, is it worth playing with one goalkeeper, Blažević, and selling Kubarsi and Glock/Yamal to an Aston Villa, Inter or Atalanta defender, and any 6 million mid if selling Glock, or any 7.5 million mid if selling Yamal? Possibly. Now with Aston Villa, they've been very solid defensively in the Champions League, and in the Prem, they've got some decent underlying stats, but they just haven't kept that many clean sheets there. But I think overall, your transfer plans are quite sound. I'd probably do the same thing as you if I don't play the Limitless myself. I don't see myself selling Di Gregorio, but you've got a few other kind of budget goalkeepers to look at. Franco Israel will definitely start. That's confirmed by the sporting manager. And there's also Perrin, who will come in for the suspended Di Gregorio. But I think in your scenario, I'd probably go for selling Kubarsi and Glock. I'd keep Yamal because long term, you definitely want Barcelona assets, and Yamal has great fixtures after Bayern Munich. Or sell Gregorio and Glock, Yamal because I already have Rafinha, to Martinez and any 7.5 million midfielder except Lookman and Wirtz because I already got them. I think I just stick with the first option that I just mentioned. Since I'm not playing my Limitless, which other game week is good to play him? As stated in my chip strategy guide, at any point between match days 2 to 8, well, I'd say ideally match days 2 to 7 actually. With the wildcard, I'd be more open to using it in match day 8 because essentially you can make it into a Limitless because you wildcard a starting 11, put as much money into that starting 11 and have just really cheap bench options, and that kind of works like a Limitless chip. You can tackle rotation and everyone plays at the same time, so you can't make substitutions anyway, and I wouldn't recommend the Limitless in match day 8. You can do it later in the competition, but I don't think the ceiling will be as high as it would be in the league phase, so I think match day 3 is a great chance for many people to do it, but if not, you could be looking at any time between match days 4 to 7. Ray says playing Limitless, Havertz, Haaland, Lautaro, Gonçalves, Wirtz, Salah, Foden, Kokchu, Trent, Gabriel, Bastoni, Grimaldo, Lewis, Raya Sommer. Yeah, I like the team a lot. If I play the Limitless in the end, which is very likely, I'll go for something quite similar, but there are some issues, of course, and I think one of them, I might be wrong about it, but I think the balance between the Tuesday and Wednesday isn't ideal. Normally, you'd want more players on the Tuesday, then you can sub out your low-scoring players for those yet to play. If you've got more on the Wednesday, I'm not saying you're doomed because you can still do really well, but it kind of limits the potential of substitutions really bailing you out. That's the kind of point of it. You don't necessarily need 11 plus Tuesday players, but you might want to have 7 or 8 at the very least. But yeah, apart from that, the only kind of nitpick I have is Lautaro Martinez. He probably won't start, so I'd probably suggest selling him, maybe to Taremi, but you've also got Ollie Watkins and plenty of strikers I've discussed in all of my UCL Fantasy videos. Best captain for today's matches. I mean, I said all week long for me it would be Saka, but it doesn't look like he's going to play. He wasn't spotted in training yesterday, unfortunately. So it becomes a bit trickier now to kind of determine the best Tuesday captain. I still think Mbappe is right up there, despite facing Borussia Dortmund at home. I'd also be looking at, I think Vlahovic could be a decent punt, Pulisic, but I have to say Ollie Watkins might be my favourite on the Tuesday, and that's a key reason why I might look at bringing him in actually for my own setup. So I'd probably say Ollie Watkins or Mbappe are the standouts for me. I think an Arsenal attack against Shakhtar looks pretty good, but Saka was the one I'd really suggest, and it looks like he's not going to play. And I also think Arsenal could struggle a little bit more without their best player. Welcome Zaid, good to see you. Pablo D says, hi Dylan, hope you're doing great. I heard Saka's not playing today. Do you have any info? Yeah, I don't have any info myself, just the reports that came out yesterday. So Arteta said that Odegaard and Saka are getting closer and that Odegaard isn't fit, but Saka has a chance, but he wasn't spotted in training. And based on that information, I think Saka is probably worth skipping for matchday 3. He was going to be at least one of the best captaincy options on the Tuesday, but it doesn't seem like that will be the case. I hope you're doing great as well. Hello Dylan, Lookman or Rodgers? I'd go for Lookman. I've actually got Rodgers in FPL, and he's been very good for me. 2 goals in 3 games, but I think in the Champions League, I'd rather go for Lookman against Celtic. The only possible doubt is the fact that Lookman was subbed off early over the weekend, and I think Gasperini, the Atalanta manager, did criticise him a little bit, so it might not be the safest pick, so to speak. I'm going to go back into your questions very soon, but I want to go through all the pieces of news first because it might answer some of your questions in the process. But first off, let's actually go through my predictions first, since people will be maybe a bit curious as to what I'm going to do for Predict 6. So at the moment, I've gone for 2 on Monaco with them to score first. Aston Villa 2, Bologna 0, and I've got the booster activated at the moment. Sturm Graz 0, Sporting 2. Brest 1, Leverkusen 3. Barcelona 1, Bayern Munich 1. RB Salzburg 2. Dynamo Zagreb 1. Now, I probably will change a few of these, but as things stand, yeah, I'm pretty happy with these predictions on paper. Let's look at this poll I put out, which is in regards to your chip strategy in matchday 3. Almost half of you are looking to use the Limitless, 40% using normal transfers, and only 12% using the wildcard, which was quite surprising. I thought it'd be a bit higher than that, but I think after matchday 2 or from matchday 4 onwards, I think the wildcard could be very potent from that point onwards. Even in matchday 8, as I highlighted earlier very briefly, that could essentially work as a Limitless chip with everybody playing at the same time. I might go back to this poll later and refresh because more people are voting, so be sure to go to my community tab on YouTube and vote for all of my polls, not just for UCL Fantasy, but also FPL. So Saka and Timber weren't spotted in training for Arsenal yesterday, which I covered already. As for Man City, De Bruyne remains not completely fit and is ruled out for City against Sparta Prague. That is confirmed by Guardiola. I cannot tell you how long he'll be out for. I don't know. Some time away before a return. Yeah, so it doesn't look good for De Bruyne, but it probably would be a good thing for Phil Foden. Kyle Walker is suffering from a knee issue after the international break, with Guardiola unable to provide a time frame on his return, so Walker is ruled out of tomorrow's game against Sparta Prague. So Rico Lewis has a better chance of starting, but it doesn't absolutely guarantee it. So you could still play Kanji and Stones, and one of them would be the right back, but I think Lewis will play. He also says Gvardiol cannot play all the games every 3 days. That's why we need Nathan Ake. Otherwise, we cannot compete until the end. So Gvardiol might start this game but be subbed off early, or he might not even start the game at all and get a brief cameo towards the end, or not even play a single minute. But it doesn't look too promising for Gvardiol in UCL Fantasy, and that's why I've made a few changes to the best Limitless team. I'm going to show you the updated versions of the Wildcard and Limitless very shortly, as well as my transfer plans if I don't use a chip, which, like I said, is very unlikely. This is the predicted City 11 tomorrow, but towards the end of this kind of segment, I'll show you all the predicted lineups, which is going to be quite extensive, so bear with me. But if you go to the UEFA.com website, you can check it out for yourself in your own time. But Ortega could start over Edison here with Lewis, Akanji, Diaz, and maybe Gvardiol, if not Ake at left back. Gundogan, Nunes, Foden, Savinho, Grealish, and Erling Haaland. But this is one predicted lineup. There could be some inaccuracies with this setup. Also, no sign of Jota, Bradley, or Chiesa in training ahead of Liverpool's trip to RB Leipzig. Alisson and Harvey Elliott are also absent, and they are out probably for the weekend against Arsenal as well. Kalanoglu will need at least a week to recover, and it looks, well, I said it already, him and Acerbi have been ruled out. They picked up injuries over the weekend. I think it was on the Sunday, so they are not going to play against Young Boys away. So Calhanoglu is not in the thinking. Be sure to sell him if you got him, and definitely don't buy him in on the Limitless or Wildcard. Next up is the 11 Atletico Madrid went for in training. Oblak in goal, Molina, Witsel, Jimenez, and Galan, with De Paul, Gallagher, Koke, Griezmann, Soloff, and Alvarez up front. So Finesca has already announced the Milan lineup that will enter the game against Club Brugge. So Magnan, Emerson, Gabbia, Tomori, Theo Hernandez, Fofana, Reinders, Pulisic, Loftus-Cheek, Leao, and Morata. The two I'm really looking at are Theo Hernandez and Pulisic. The only reason Theo Hernandez didn't play over the weekend, as discussed in my videos, is because he was suspended, so he's completely fit and available for this game. Next up is the Juventus expected backline against Stuttgart, which should be Savona, Danilo, Kalulu, and Cambiasso. Tchouameni left training, and it could be a muscle problem. This was reported yesterday, I believe. Yes, it was at this time yesterday, so that's something else to think about, and it might actually help Borussia Dortmund's chances of getting something, or maybe to at least score more goals, even if they do go on to lose the game. So as I mentioned earlier, Franco Israel, a 4 million goalkeeper, will start tomorrow, and this is confirmed by Ruben Amorim, the sporting manager. Next up, Boniface's availability against Brest is up in the air after a car crash, and I don't think he was spotted in training. I also don't think he was actually selected for the squad, so Boniface is someone to completely avoid. Go for Florian Wirtz if you want to cover Bayer Leverkusen, offensively, but it's worth noting that Brest are second in the league phase table. So that kind of covers all the pieces of news I've got up until now. If you've got any other questions, let me know. And very briefly, I'll try to keep this quite short. These are the predicted lineups for all of the teams, according to UEFA.com. It's not going to be 100% gospel and spot on, but it will be quite reliable, and a lot of it will be accurate. So it does give you a good idea of the players that are going to start and those that are doubtful. For example, Saka is not in the predicted lineup, and I completely agree with them now. I don't think Saka is going to play. So as you can see with AC Milan, they've got the exact same 11 I actually discussed just before. I think Morata's the only one. I might have to double check that actually, but yeah, it's very similar. Club Brugge as well. Not really too many surprises, and also I don't think Club Brugge will be of that much interest in UCL Fantasy. Monaco though could be against Crvena Zvezda, Red Star Belgrade, and it looks like Salisu will not play. He missed the weekend game. He picked up an injury over the international break, and he could be out for a couple of weeks. But I think actually Vanderson would be my favourite Monaco option in Matchday 3, even on a Limitless potentially. So with Arsenal, they've gone for Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Partey, Rice, Marino, Jesus, Havertz, and Trossard. So yeah, Saka and Timber, very unlikely they're going to feature. As for Shakhtar Donetsk, they've only got one player out, and none are doubtful or suspended. So it's all looking good for Shakhtar Donetsk, and they could go for a fairly strong 11, relatively speaking. As for Aston Villa, Martinez, Cash, Diego Carlos, Pau Torres, Dean, Onana, Tielemans, Ramsey, Rogers, Philogene, and Watkins is the likely starting 11. I think Watkins, Martinez, Luca Dean, and maybe Rogers will be the standout options for Aston Villa. As for Bologna, they've got quite a few injury problems, which Aston Villa could take advantage of, and actually they're in a really strong position right now, with only one doubtful player in Mings, but he could easily be on the bench against Bologna. As for Girona versus Bratislava, I have seen some people ask me, why have you not really recommended any Girona players? But they are 12th in La Liga. They're really struggling this season. If they showed the form from last year and they had Savinho and Dovbik, then I'd definitely be very keen on Girona, but I'm not really feeling it this time round. I think their goalkeeper, the Argentine Gazzaniga, could be a good option considering the fixture, but I don't trust Girona defensively. Apart from that, you might want to go for Danjuma, but it looks like they've got a few injury problems, which includes Blind, Romeo, and Brian Gil, who is a 4.5 million option. As for Juventus, it's pretty much what I discussed, so Perin, Savona, Kalulu, Danilo, and Cabal, but actually I think it could be Cambiasso instead of Cabal, so that could be the possible change there. Fagioli, Conceição, McKennie, Douglas Luiz, Yildiz, and Vlahovic, who is my favourite Juventus option. As for Stuttgart, they've got quite a few injuries themselves, and that actually... Well, they still got Undav there as the attacking midfielder. I remember a lot of people actually mentioned Milot, who ended up scoring, I think, then it was disallowed. But I think Stuttgart have some decent UCL Fantasy options, but I wouldn't go for them in Matchday 3. As for PSG, Donnarumma, Hakimi, Marquinhos, William Bacho, who's very good for ball recoveries, Nuno Mendes, Zaire Emery, Vitinha, Neves, Dembele, Asensio, and Barcola, who is my favourite attacker, and Hakimi will be my number 1 pick from Paris Saint-Germain. PSV, a good team over the years, but I wouldn't really recommend them this week. But yeah, pretty much not too many surprises considering their injuries. Schutten, Veerman, Dest, Lozano are very important players to them, and they could all be out. Well, it looks like they are all out against Juventus. As for Real Madrid, Courtois, Lucas Vazquez, Eder Militao, Rudiger, Mendy, Valverde, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Bellingham, Mbappe, and Vinicius will be the starting 11. Bellingham is kind of playing this right forward role, but there is a chance he reverts back to his original position from last season, which saw him get a lot of goals and assists for Real Madrid. He hasn't scored for Los Merengues so far this season. As for Borussia Dortmund, we could see Kobel, Ryerson, Anton, Schlotterbeck, Bensabani, Emre Can, Pascal Gross, Marlon, Brandt, Sabitzer, and Garassi. The likes of Adeyemi are out after his hat-trick in Matchday 2. The same goes for Couto, and I think that was disclosed on Thursday. As for Sturm Graz versus Sporting, the most important ones really to look out for are Franco Israel, a 4 million goalkeeper, Gyökeres, and also Pedro Gonçalves. He isn't in this predicted starting 11, but I think there's a good chance he does get the nod here. So Pedro Gonçalves is another one to consider. Gonzalo Inacio is currently a doubt, which is a shame because I was actually looking at him as a decent 4-point family and defender to start this campaign. As for Atalanta versus Celtic, we could see the likes of Djimitsi and Kolasinac in this backline, with Kolasinac being my favourite. Sappacosta is also pretty decent. Darun, Ederson, Belanova, Lookman, De Ketelari, and Retegui, who has been getting a lot of love in the comment section recently. I believe he's got 8 goals in Serie A so far this season. Missed the penalty against Arsenal in Matchday 1, only got 1 point in the following game against Shakhtar, but I think he'll start this game. My personal favourite, though, would be Lookman. As for Celtic, not too many problems for them, but they lost 7-1 in Matchday 2 against Borussia Dortmund, and I personally wouldn't be too infused about their options. Kasper Schmeichel, I just wouldn't go there. I don't trust them defensively. They drew 2-2 to Aberdeen over the weekend, but Kun and Maeda are decent budget midfielders if you want to go there. As for Brest versus Leverkusen, of course, Leverkusen will be the more popular team with Hradecky, Tapsoba, Jonathan Tah, Hincapié, Frimpong, Palacios, Xhaka, Grimaldo, Wirtz, Terrier, Schick, and Boniface is out, it looks like, according to the latest reports. But yeah, my personal favourite will be Wirtz and either Frimpong or Grimaldo. As for Atletico Madrid versus Lille, it's pretty much what I discussed earlier in that predicted 11. I think Lino and Renilo aren't in it, so what I showed you earlier with the Atletico Madrid 11 in training, that will be the likely starting lineup there against Lille, who got that 1-0 win against Real Madrid in Matchday 2. We're approaching the end of this, so don't worry. I'm going to get back into your questions very shortly. But like I said, this will help to answer a lot of questions. These are predicted lineups. A lot of it will be accurate, but not everything, so take it with a pinch of salt. Inter Milan will likely go for Sommer, Pavard, De Vrij, Bastoni, Dumfries, Mkhitaryan, Fratesi, Barella, DeMarco. Well, they say Thuram and Lautaro Martinez. It looks like it's going to be Arnautovic and Taremi based on the recent reports. So I think it's risky either way if you go for an Inter Milan attacker. And I personally am only going for Sommer if I do activate the Limitless chip. As for Barcelona versus Bayern Munich, the standout fixture of Matchday 3, Iñaki Peña, Koundé, Cubarsí, Inigo Martinez, Balde, Casado, Pedri, Yamal, Olmo, Rafinha, and Lewandowski. They've got quite a few injury problems, but that's still a very strong starting 11. As for Bayern Munich, Neuer, Guerrero, Kim Min-jae, Upamecano, Davis, Kimmich, João Pelinha, Elise, Müller, Gnabry, and Kane. But Musiala is in contention to play. He'll probably feature from the bench. He might even start the game. He's a quality player, and he could definitely be a difference maker in this particular match. And we're approaching the very end here. Trust me, don't worry. Salzburg versus Dynamo Zagreb. Schlager is the expected goalkeeper actually for Salzburg. So yeah, that could be a change between the sticks if I'm not mistaken. As for Man City versus Sparta Prague, Ederson, Lewis, Akanji, Diaz, Ake, Kovacic, Savio, Bernardo Silva, Foden, Grealish, and Haaland. So I could see that being the starting 11. That's a very good prediction. Sparta Prague, you can see there, Panak has been very good so far this season. Leipzig versus Liverpool, we've got Kelleher, Trent, Kanate, Van Dijk, Robertson, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, Salah, Jones, Diaz, and Nunez, with the likes of Jota ruled out. And then Benfica versus Feyenoord, the final set of teams. I think Benfica will be the ones to target here to go for one or two of their options. I think Kokchu has been really impressive. Jonathan Barr is a decent defender to go for. Di Maria is a legend of the game, and even the other Turkish player there, I don't want to butcher his name, but he was formerly at, I think, Galatasaray last season. Kerem, I'll call him Kerem. You could also go for him, actually. He's a pretty decent choice. Otamendi used to be a really good option as well in UCL Fantasy, and Feyenoord might spring a surprise here. It could be a lot of goals from both teams, but ultimately, those are all the predicted lineups. I'll put a link now in the live chat so you can have a look yourselves, because maybe you might have missed something or you wanted to look at a specific team in more detail. So be sure to check it out. I just put it in the live chat right now. So let's now go to my UCL Fantasy team. As things stand, I haven't made a single transfer. I'll likely play the Limitless chip, and very shortly I'm going to show the updated Wildcard and Limitless teams, but I'm sure a lot of you have questions and comments to be answered, so let's get straight into those as well. Thanks for the info, Dylan. Very useful info. That's why we follow you. Thank you very much, Badgeraz. It's always a pleasure, a long-time viewer of this channel. Saka didn't train yesterday. I don't think he's going to play against Shakhtar Donetsk today, unfortunately. Yeah, Morata punt. Let me just double-check that, though, because I believe I might have maybe misremembered it. My memory might be a bit murky, but I do believe he wasn't in the 11 in today's training session. Let me just go through that one more time myself. And by the way, Barrios will miss the Champions League game for Atletico Madrid. The same goes for Lenglet, who is injured for a couple of weeks. But let me get the Atletico Madrid news. I had it here somewhere because I did close the tabs after showing you. So yeah, the 11 for Atletico Madrid in training today had Griezmann, Sorloth, and Alvarez up front. No Morata. So yeah, I wouldn't go for Morata in UCL Fantasy. Smash the like button if you haven't already, by the way. Let's get this stream to over 400 likes, and let's also get to 29,000 subscribers today. We might have done it already, but if not, we're getting very close towards that milestone. Let me just have a quick check on how we're doing. Yeah, we're 6 subscribers away from 29k. Let's get to that, and thank you very much to those that have subscribed already, all the channel members and patrons, super chatters. You're all massively appreciated and contribute towards the channel's growth. So let's get back into your questions again. Watkins or Pulisic for captain today? Probably Watkins, but I do like Pulisic. If I go for the Limitless, both of them might be in my setup. Wirtz has a foot injury, played 30 minutes during the week, could be on the bench again. Yeah, there were some problems. I did actually highlight this in one of my videos, so you are right in terms of highlighting that. But I think he's going to start this game against Brest. He got that 30 minutes in for the match sharpness and getting him back up to speed. I personally think he will start, but I think if you're on the Limitless, you might want to go against him and go for another 22nd of October, Tuesday player, just for the balance as well. Vlahovic or Gyökeres? It's close, but this week I'd go for Vlahovic. Will Gittins play? According to the lineup I showed you, no. Yeah, Kolasinac is ill and missed training. Yeah, I don't know which video it is now. It's all kind of a blur, but I think it was either... I think it was the best wildcard team video. I highlighted the fact that Kolasinac has a virus. He didn't play over the weekend, but he's still expected to start, according to reliable sources like UEFA.com. In my opinion, Bellanova could be nice for 4 million. Yeah, that's a good shout. I've heard about him in the comment section a lot recently, and I think that's a good choice there. ¿Qué cámaras utilizas para hacer los videos? ¿Una webcam? Sí, en este momento uso un webcam nada más. Lo más importante es la luz. Compré varios luces que ayudan mucho, pero estoy pensando en comprar una cámara, uno de Sony, así que en un momento voy a hacer ese cambio, creo. I really like the Limitless this week. Some very favourable fixtures. Inter, Atalanta, Leverkusen, Liverpool City all make the Limitless worthy for me. I agree, but the fact that Barcelona and Bayern Munich play each other, you know, people will point towards that being a reason why not to Limitless, but it is team dependent, right? I said this earlier in the stream. If you've got a lot of Barcelona and Bayern Munich players, you might have Borussia Dortmund assets, you know, maybe injuries or suspensions like I do. I think it's a great time to use the Limitless, and that's why I'm very confident I will play it at the very end. Will Havertz and Trossard play today? Yeah, I think so. Kerem, yeah, he's been on fire. Yeah, I didn't want to butcher the surname. I think I've tried before. But yeah, Kerem is a decent option, actually. I think Gonçalves is fit, Yeah, I do. Retegui and Lookman double up. Well, if Celtic defend the way they have done recently, conceding 2 to Aberdeen at home and also 7 against Borussia Dortmund, I don't really mind that. But on the Limitless, I'd personally just go for one right now, as I'll show you very soon. Lookman or Pulisic? Probably Pulisic, but it's a very close call. I might go for both of them, actually. Best 4-point family and defender? You know what? A lot of these questions I think will be best answered by going to a certain segment, which is the best Limitless and Wildcard teams. So let's do that right now. So first off, these will be my 2 free transfers if I don't play the Limitless, which is very unlikely, just to make it clear. But just in case, in that kind of small percentage of chance that I decide not to play any chip, I would buy the likes of Lookman and Rico Lewis, most likely, for Joshua Kimmich and Kim Min-jae. But what you want to know are the best options at 4.5 million. I still like Kolasinac or Zappacosta a lot. Now, with Kolasinac missing training, you might want to change this actually and go to Zappacosta. I do like him for the next 3 fixtures. Then there are some tough games for Atalanta later in the league phase, but overall, I think Zappacosta is a good option at this price point. Rico Lewis is a little bit above, actually. Yeah, he's 4.6. And the same goes for Kubarsi, who long-term, I think, will get several clean sheets, but I don't like him for matchday 3, of course. But I think between Zappacosta, Lewis, and Kubarsi, you've got 3 of the best 4.5 million defenders. Another one, people would argue, is Vanderson, who is 4.6 million, but I don't like Monaco that much defensively, if I'm being completely honest with you. As for the... Let's actually talk about the rest of the wildcard team first, and I'll show you the Limitless squad. So I've gone for Perrin and Sommer in goal, but beyond matchday 3, you could argue Franco Israel is more likely to start than Perrin, so you might just want to go for Franco Israel, who is a guaranteed starter in matchday 3 with a great fixture. The problem is he faces Arsenal and City in matchdays 4 and 5, but I think this goalkeeper duo is really good. Let's actually break it down. So Perrin plays today on the Tuesday, while Sommer plays tomorrow on the Wednesday. But even beyond that, so Perrin plays on the 5th of November and on the 27th, and then with Sommer he plays on the 26th and on the 6th. I think my head is all over the place right now. Also on the 11th of December when he faces Man City, and on the 10th of December. So basically, if Perrin can reclaim that #1 spot in the Champions League over Di Gregorio, you will basically have a goalkeeper pairing which doesn't cost you that much money, who play on different days until matchday 8 when everybody plays inevitably at the same time. So I do like this goalkeeper pairing until matchday 7 basically, and I do like it. I've gone for Gabriel, Zappacosta, Frimpong, Lewis and Kubarsi. You could easily go for Grimaldo over Frimpong if you wish. I've gone for Kokchu actually as a cheap midfielder, but he does face Bayern Munich in matchday 4, so just bear that in mind. I've gone for Lookman, Wirtz, Foden and Pulisic with the likes of Haaland, Vlahovic and Harry Kane up front. You might want to take a punt and go against Kane for this match day, then bring him in for match days 4 or 5. But Bayern Munich don't have the easiest of games coming up. Benfica and PSG, I think Bayern Munich will win those games, but maybe not to the same level as they did back in match day 1, of course. But I do like this wildcard squad. It's very strong. You might want to change the structure a little bit more, invest more money in the midfield, go for someone like Salah, possibly Bellingham, but I wouldn't go for Bellingham right now. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat as well. As for the Limitless, this is kind of what I'm leaning towards if I do activate the chip, but there could be a few changes, and one of them could actually be this. Mbappe out, and let's go for Ollie Watkins, and that's obviously another 22nd of October player, but Mbappe does play today as well, so it doesn't make much difference on that front, but I do like Watkins against Bologna. So Martinez and Sommer could be the 2 goalkeepers, Theo Hernandez, Gabriel, Frimpong, Akanji and Hakimi. There are more players on the 23rd though in this defensive line, and the same goes for the midfield, with only Pulisic playing on the Tuesday. So there is a slight issue in terms of balance between these 2 days, and you might want to maybe replace some of these Wednesday players for those on the Tuesday, just to kind of give you more flexibility, and it boosts the chances of having impactful substitutions. So I think that could really work well. Now, what would I change in order to achieve that with the Limitless? It's going to be a difficult one, but it might be a defender. So maybe one of Frimpong or Akanji, maybe one of them might make way. Now, I've got Gabriel, Theo Hernandez and Hakimi actually who play on the Tuesday, so that's not too shabby. Maybe I should be looking at the midfield and replacing one of these options. The question is who? I think Salah with his current form, you don't want to go without him, despite RB Leipzig away not being the easiest of fixtures. Florian Wirtz is a slight injury doubt, you might want to go against him. But then who do you go for on the Tuesday? And unfortunately, with Saka likely missing out, you don't have that standout captaincy choice from the 22nd of October here, which we would have gotten if Saka didn't pick up that injury over the international break. So when we look down the list here on the 22nd, who do you go for? Maybe another Arsenal attacker like Martinelli or Trossard, but I'm not really feeling it. I'm not really feeling it, to be honest, and I'd rather go for Florian Wirtz over most of the Tuesday midfielders. Maybe this is where some of you will say, what about Morgan Rogers? And if that was the case, I would then go for Mbappe over Ollie Watkins. I don't think I'd want to double up or triple up in this case with Aston Villa, although that's not the worst thing in the world. And you could also go for Bellingham and Watkins as another partnership. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat. But at the moment, I would be leaning towards something like this. And I think Watkins is kind of growing on me. I'd really like him in Matchday 3. So let me know your thoughts there. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Let me just get this up. There's a few super chats that have come in, so let's go through them one at a time. So the first one is by Ram. Thank you very much. Should I go for Limitless or Wildcard? And I could do Limitless and accommodate the players within 100 million. And if I use any, can I do 4 transfers on Game Week 4? No. So no matter what chip you use, you will have 2 free transfers for Matchday 4. And you can't make transfers, play the Limitless chip, and have those transfers basically go through. You can't do that. So any hits or transfers will be wiped out once you activate the Limitless. As for which chip you should go for, it's really team dependent. In most scenarios, I would go for the Limitless this week because people might be saying, some, top teams have tough fixtures, but you've also got some really good opponents or really good teams with favourable fixtures like Inter Milan, Arsenal, and many others. Even PSG have a decent fixture, and most of the teams you see basically covered on screen, I think all of them have a very promising game. Aston Villa would be another. As for the wildcard, you might want to use it in Matchday 8 and essentially use that as a Limitless chip because everyone plays at the same time in Matchday 8, so you can't make substitutions there. So what you could do with the wildcard is just invest so much money in the starting 11. You know all the lineups, so you'll be able to see who plays, who's on the bench and stuff. And on your bench, just go for cheap options, and that will enable you to go for a sort of Limitless squad in Matchday 8. But you also could use the wildcard at another stage of the competition. It could be Matchday 4 or 5, or possibly save it for the knockout stages, as I discussed earlier. But no matter what you do, my advice has always been use the Limitless between Matchdays 2 to 7, and I think Matchday 3 is a great opportunity. So I think if I had to pick one, it would be the Limitless, but I don't know your team situation, so it might be different for you. Haribo, thank you very much as well. Played my Limitless in Game Week 2. I'm with Di Gregorio and Blazwich out. I want to play my wildcard now instead of using my free transfers on goalkeepers. Thoughts? Right, so yeah, it makes sense in your situation. You played the Limitless already. Blazwich is not expected to start, as we went through in the UEFA.com lineups, and he's been awful anyway. I see what you're saying there, but I wouldn't just wildcard for 2 goalkeepers. I'd assume you'd have at least 4 more transfers to make elsewhere. If that's the case, I think it could be a good opportunity for you to wildcard. But I see what you're saying there. You don't need to buy 2 of them, though. As in, you don't need to buy 2 goalkeepers. Just 1 is enough. And if you can do that and still have a relatively strong squad in Matchday 3, you might want to save the wildcard in that scenario. But I don't know the rest of your squad, so it's difficult for me to kind of judge on the face of it without context. But I think overall, I wouldn't mind playing the wildcard just after playing the Limitless, as you've done in Matchdays 2 and 3. So let me know your thoughts with a non-super chat as well, and we can kind of finalise that. Yeah, but that's been covered already, mate. The sporting manager has confirmed that Franco Israel will start. So the goalkeeper who played over the weekend, his name begins with a K, I don't want to butcher it, he is the first choice normally, but he didn't play well, and Franco Israel has been very solid recently, so he will play in Matchday 3. Gabriel or Gvardiol? Gabriel. I don't think Gvardiol starts, actually. Thoughts on Trossard and Retegui? I think both of them are good punts. I'd rather go for Retegui if I had to pick one of them. But yeah, Trossard is clinical on his day, but he can be very frustrating. I think his general play can be left wanting a little bit. But in UCL Fantasy terms, I think both of them can do really well with those fixtures. Best inter-defender? Probably Bastoni, but I'm not sure if he starts. That's why I'm going for Sommer, who is kind of guaranteed to be in that 11. Bully News predicts Musiala starts. Should I hold him for this week in favour of Selin Kubarsi? It's a good question because there is no guarantee either way, and you'd probably back goals in that game rather than a clean sheet. But I do like Kubarsi long term, and I think with Musiala, he's a top talent. He's a great player to watch, but I think in UCL Fantasy you can do better than him. So my personal advice would actually be to sell Musiala in the grand scheme of things. Jorge says, hola Dylan, tengo 4 lesionados y 1 suspendido. ¿Piensas que es un buen momento para usar el wildcard? Creo que sí. O tomar un déficit de 8 puntos haciendo cambios o usar el Limitless. Bueno, en ese caso yo creo que el Limitless sería la mejor opción, pero tampoco sé tu equipo y los 15 jugadores que tienes, pero Para muchas personas, yo creo que Limitless es el mejor que puedes hacer en la jornada 3. With Saka and Odegaard out, I don't really trust Arsenal attack. I think that's fair. I think Saka makes such a big difference. To kind of put it bluntly, I think if Saka misses out against Liverpool, I think Liverpool win the game. But if Saka plays, I think Arsenal get the win. That's how important he is. Now, it's difficult to judge when Arsenal were, they only had 11 players for 30 minutes basically, but they didn't look convincing whatsoever. And the alternative is playing Sterling or Jesus there, and it's just nowhere near the same level. So, yeah, with those two players out, yeah, I don't trust Arsenal's attack that much, and I'd rather go for Watkins, Vlahovic, Gyökeres over Havertz this week, for example. I have 3 transfers. Does it reset to 2 after I play the Limitless? You have 3 free transfers, yeah. You will have 2 free transfers. Actually, no, sorry. I think you'll still have 3 free transfers in that specific scenario, which hasn't happened too often, by the way. But yeah, you will still have 3 free transfers, but you won't be able to get 4. You've never been able to do that in the league phase. That's not going to change. As far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, you will still have 3 available moves. Yeah, exactly. Franco Israel will play, as covered already. Let's see what else we've got. What do you think of Lautaro Martinez? He probably won't start. Inter Milan are expected to rotate, and Lautaro isn't in many of the predicted lineups. Yeah, it's very likely I'll activate the Limitless. I haven't done it yet, just to be very clear. And basically, let me just show you very quickly. So this would be my 2 free transfers. Lookman and Rico Lewis in for Kim Min-jae and Kimmich. But the most likely scenario is for me to use the Limitless, which you can see on screen. But there could be a few changes within this 15-man squad. For example, I could go for Trent Alexander-Arnold in the defensive line. I could also go for Saliba, or maybe double up on the Arsenal defence with Raya in goal. Luka Dean is still interesting to me in the defensive line. There's also a few other midfielders here and there. Mainly Bellingham, but I'm not really feeling it at the moment. Yamal and Rafinha are kind of skippable in Matchday 3 for me. I think probably the other midfielders I consider are from Arsenal or Morgan Rogers. Up front, I think there's more to choose from. You've got Taremi, who will likely start for Inter Milan. I'd also be looking at Kai Havertz, although I'm not too keen on him now, with Saka potentially missing out. But if we did get news, by the way, of Saka playing today and starting, I'd easily buy him in for Florian Wirtz and kind of activate the Limitless without a shadow of a doubt and probably go for this setup. But it's not locked in at the moment. And for reference, this will be the updated best wildcard team, building upon what I discussed the other day with all the latest injury news taken into account. W Spanish, thank you very much. Will Saka play? Probably not. He wasn't in training yesterday. I'd be very surprised if he started against Shakhtar. He might not even make a single appearance. He might not even come off the bench and just miss out entirely. A great differential for the Limitless chip. Well, quite a few of the players that I've talked about are differentials. So Ollie Watkins is actually quite low owned. 5% for example. Vlahovic 7%. I'd class both of them as differentials. Lookman with 8% ownership is also very low owned. Phil Foden at 10%. For a player of his caliber, I think also very low owned. I think the biggest one would be Pulisic though, 4%, and he's been AC Milan's best player this season, even in the summer for the United States of America. He was getting a lot of goals and assists in the Copa America. Other differentials include Theo Hernandez. Hakimi, no, he's always high owned actually. Akanji though, 4% ownership. I think he's going to start. Very good for ball recoveries, and I think City keep another clean sheet here. So yeah, those would be some nice differentials on the Limitless. Others would probably include Morgan Rogers, Redegi, and Kai Havertz, to name a few of them. But actually, yeah, Kai Havertz, 8% ownership, also very low owned. That probably answers your question. So who should I captain, Saliba, Gyökeres, or Barcola? Good question. I'd probably go for Gyökeres. I don't mind Barcola, though. With Saka out, what do you think are the best captaincy options on the 22nd? Watkins and Mbappe would be my favourites. Yeah, I think Taremi starts, but it's not a guarantee. Miguel Costa says, thoughts on Tielemans and Harry Kane? Tielemans did very well on Matchday 1. Harry Kane is just a great option in general. He might blank this week, but you keep him long term. So yeah, Kane is still one of the best forwards in the game, but I wouldn't go for him on the Limitless. And as for Tielemans, I'd maybe prefer Morgan Rogers, who plays a more offensive role. Yeah, I'll most likely Limitless, as discussed just now. Do you think Trust will start? Yes. Give us the best free Arsenal options. Probably Raya, Gabriel, and Saliba. Those would be my top 3, but if I had to name like an attacker, I would probably go for one of Martinelli or Trossard. I think Martinelli, I've got a good feeling about him. Kai Havertz is always a good option when he plays up front, but that might not be the case here. I think if Havertz plays up front, he'll be my top 3. So essentially, I'd say Gabriel first, Havertz second, and Raya third. Limitless or Wildcard, team dependent, as I've mentioned before. In many scenarios, I think the Limitless is better. Trent or Theo? Probably Theo, simply because, well, there's 2 reasons. 1, he plays on the Tuesday, and 2, he plays at home with a more favourable fixture compared to RB Leipzig away. I think Liverpool win that game, but they might concede in the process. That's been covered, Dala, mate. I would go for Gyökeres. Thorson, Rafael Leao as a differential. Not too shabby. I just personally prefer Pulisic because of the form he's shown, but sometimes the Champions League, the Premier League, just football in general is full of surprises, and, you know, Leao might not have got many goals or assists this season, and he does so this week, so I don't really mind that as a punt. Would you take Bastoni over Hernandez? Probably not, because there's no guarantee Bastoni starts. I think he will, but not necessarily. So yeah, we're getting quite a lot of repeat questions. Just check out the pinned comment because that's all addressed there. How many hits would you take before wildcarding, especially when Matchday 8 wildcard seems very strong? No more than a -8 in my opinion, because despite the extended format, it's only 17 match days, and I think saving hits can be very crucial in this game. I think the bar is so high, by the way. You know, Matchday 1, I got like 120 points, was in a very good position, but I was still around 26,000, for example. And then, you know, one kind of average week has put me all the way back. I think any hits makes it very difficult to achieve what you want in UCL Fantasy. Salah or Barcola for this week only? Salah. What do you think about Mivoski for today? Haven't really considered him, but that could be a decent shout. A lot of the options I would probably suggest in Matchday 3 have been covered already with the best Limitless and wildcard team videos, and also the updated versions in this live stream. I think the most nailed to defender for this game week is Rico Lewis, as Walker is out. Yes, but Lewis has kind of played this inverted fullback role, but you are right. I think with Walker out, it does seem logically like Lewis is definitely going to start, but trust me, Pep Guardiola is capable of some madness in the team selections, but I think Akanji is very likely to play as well this week. I'm guessing that's Retegui. Yes, Retegui is definitely worth consideration. Dylan, ¿qué prefieres? I can't even speak in English or Spanish today. Vlahovic y Watkins o Havertz y Gyökeres. Es difícil, pero para mí Vlahovic y Watkins es un poquito mejor. Yeah, Seema's a good cheap option, you are correct, but it doesn't look like he's going to play. He's doubtful. He's not in the predicted lineup for Brest, and he's facing Leverkusen, who I think will probably get the win here. So I wouldn't go for Seema this week, but maybe longer term. Yes, this is the updated best Limitless team. Now, if Saka is available and we find out in the next hour or so, I would go for him over Florian Wirtz, and that would be kind of locked in for me. No worries, Dala. Is Saka injured? It looks like it. Probably being safe for Liverpool over the weekend, where Arsenal desperately need him. Would you sell Di Gregorio for a -4? No. Just go for the Atalanta goalkeeper. You know, let's put it into context. If you buy a goalkeeper, let's say you buy... so you buy someone on the 22nd, right? Someone from today. Let's say you buy Perrin or Franco Israel. You know, let's say they keep a clean sheet. That's 6 points. You take a -4 hit. You only gain 2 points, and that's with a clean sheet being gained. But you could just get that clean sheet from the Atalanta goalkeeper. So I wouldn't do it. I honestly don't think a hit is worth it in this case. Matías says, Hola Dylan, tengo a Carvajal y Di Gregorio. Serían mis cambios gratis. Además tengo a Kane, Yamal, Rafinha, Kimmich y Kubarsi. ¿Qué comodín recomiendas? Muy parecido a mi situación. Yo usaría el Limitless. What do you think about Gyökeres and Havertz? Both been covered. I still like Gyökeres a lot for Matchday 3. I'm less keen on Havertz now, with Saka likely missing out, but both of them are great options in Matchday 3. I just think Vlahovic and Watkins are better. Possibly even Taremi as well. Terrier and Jesus or Trossard and Schick? Probably Trossard and Schick. I'm not a big fan of some of those options though. Guerrero, Timber, Kubarsi, Yamal, Lewandowski, Bellingham, Wirtz to sell. Timber probably won't start today. He wasn't in training yesterday. And the other one to sell, I'd probably sell Guerrero there. So the first two. Goldhead puts his team. Current Limitless. Dean over Bar is an alternative I like. I also like Luka Dean, but I'm not too keen on doubling up on Villa defensively. So if I went for Dean, I'd probably sell Emi Martinez for Raya. I still think Arsenal can keep a clean sheet this week. But very good squad. I do like the look of it. Best Limitless in the photo, like my formation. Is this your team on display? It's not my team because I haven't made a single transfer yet, but it's very likely to become my team if I activate the Limitless. Glock or Kerem. I'll call him Kerem. I'd go for Kerem, actually. I would. Kim Min-jae will play tomorrow. I think so, but I don't like Bayern Munich's fixtures. He was kind of a matchday one punt, and it completely flopped, so I wouldn't go for Kim Min-jae. Possibly. I'll have a look now, actually. The lineups tend to be out quite early in UCL Fantasy. So let's have a quick look here, see if we can get this up. So I just got another update here by a reliable source. Is that a reliable source? Well, yeah, I just saw another source anyway. I think it's Arsblog, although they've been quoted by somebody else that says Saka and Timber are set to miss the match against Shakhtar, which makes sense based on what we heard yesterday. It's not locked in, though, so take it with a pinch of salt, but it's worth kind of highlighting just in case. Let me get AC Milan's lineup, if it is out indeed. Okay, it's not up here. It probably will be on the UEFA website. So just give me a second whilst I have a look. Monaco versus Red Star Belgrade will be the other early kickoff, so we might have their lineups as well. So nothing is out yet. Probably within the next 15 minutes, I'd say, we will get some news. Retegui, Vlahovic and Taremi as a front for Limitless. Yeah, it looks good, but you've also got Watkins, Mbappe, Erling Haaland. Do you really want to go against Erling Haaland this week? I mean, be my guest. I know he's blanked 3 times in a row in the Premier League, but that doesn't mean he will forever. Who do you think starts in the Arsenal front three? Difficult to say, really. I haven't given it much thought since, the news about Saka potentially missing out, but I think one of Jesus or Sterling plays on the right. I think Martinelli plays on the left, and then Havertz or Trossard up front, but it all depends, really, because I think Marino will start in the midfield and probably alongside Partey and Rice. And if that's the case, then one of Trossard or Havertz misses out? It's very difficult to tell, but Havertz is kind of a nailed-on player for Arsenal, so it's really Trossard or Martinelli. That's the big debate for me. But I think one of Jesus or Sterling play on the right-hand side to replace Saka. Who's the best Atalanta defender on the wildcard? If he's fit, it will be Kolasinac, but he was ill, and he missed yesterday's training session, so that might be a little bit risky. I mean, thoughts on Pulisic? I've covered him all week, mate. I like him a lot. He's been in great form for AC Milan this season, so I really like him. I don't think Saka's available today. Is Gabriel and Saliba risky? Possibly a little bit, yeah. You might want to go for Raya in goal and one of Gabriel or Saliba. And you might be thinking, why would that even, matter so much? Because with Raya, if he, blanks, you can then bring on someone like on the Limitless on the Wednesday. But if you've got Gabriel and Saliba, that's 2 of your 5 defenders already, done. And if they don't keep a clean sheet, it's very risky. So I'd maybe rather go for Raya in goal and Gabriel or Saliba. Gyökeres or Vlahovic on the wildcard? Vlahovic. I think he's got better fixtures. Gvardiol might not start, mate. I covered this earlier. If you rewind the stream towards the very beginning when I started it, I covered the Guardiola comments on Gvardiol not being able to play every 3 or 4 days. So there is a chance he doesn't start. And if he does, he might be subbed off at halftime. Do I keep my free transfers after Limitless? No. So if you make transfers, play the Limitless, your transfers do not carry through. Is Leao a good option? Yeah, but I prefer Pulisic. Vlahovic or Pulisic for captaincy today? Pulisic. What about Mbappe? Still a good option. It's just he's got a difficult fixture on paper against Borussia Dortmund. But I do like him. I really do. And he still might be in my team, by the way. It's between him and Ollie Watkins, ultimately. Gvardiol over Akanji in this Limitless lineup. Like I said, with Gvardiol right now, I think Akanji's more nailed on to start, so it makes no sense to go for Gvardiol, in my opinion. If you want to risk it, you think Gvardiol plays 90 minutes or 60 plus, go for him, but I personally don't think he will. Arsenal defence Limitless, triple? No, I think 1 or 2 is fine, not triple. Lewis starting? I believe so. Limitless better than Wildcard for Game Week 3? For most people, yes, not for everybody. Trossard, Lookman and Vinicius Jr. on Limitless, they're all good options. I just prefer other midfielders over Trossard. That includes Lookman, who you've mentioned. I do like him a lot. You've got Pulisic, for example, at a similar price, Florian Wirtz. And instead of Vinicius Jr., you've got Mbappe, Watkins, Havertz, Vlahovic, and a few more like Gyökeres, who I think are better in Matchday 3. It's close, Haas. Maybe, selling Gyökeres could be a mistake or it could leave you with regrets, but I do like Vlahovic a lot based on recent form. It's a close one, to be fair. I do like Gyökeres. I have mentioned him a lot already. Salisu is injured, Carlos. He is not in the predicted lineup for Monaco. We'll see, by the way, if he starts today. If he does, then yeah, I agree with you. Salisu is a great option on the wildcard, but I wouldn't buy him on the Limitless. Best PSG defender, Hakimi. Hernandez or Frimpong? I would go for Hernandez. He plays on the Tuesday, has a home fixture, and I think Milan are slightly more likely to keep a clean sheet than Bayer Leverkusen this week. By the way, Rawand, another PSG defender for you would be William Pacho if you want a more affordable option. Sell De Jong or Nunez for one of Haaland or Lewandowski. I'd sell Darwin Nunez. Best 5 million defender for this week only. 5 million defender. For this week only, that's a difficult one. I would possibly look at one of Kolasinac or Zappacosta, but I think ultimately we'd be looking once again to Rico Lewis. I think he'd be the one I'd suggest to you. Barcola or Dembele? Barcola. I think Gonçalves starts, by the way, but in the predicted lineup by UEFA.com, he wasn't in it. So take it with a pinch of salt. It might be wrong. I personally think he starts. And if he does, he is a great option on the Limitless or Wildcard. But of course, bear in mind he faces Arsenal and City after Matchday 3. Any news on Saka? I've covered this quite a few times. So basically, he wasn't spotted in training yesterday, and I don't think he's going to start today. So with that information, I'm not going to go for him unless we get confirmation he starts before the deadline, which seems very unlikely. Gyökeres or Watkins? Watkins. Out of those two, I'd probably captain Gyökeres this week. If Saka was starting, though, I think Havertz becomes a much better UCL Fantasy option, but I don't think Saka starts. Heidelin, Lookman or Barcola as a 5th midfielder pick. On the Limitless already got Salah, Foden, Wirtz and Pulisic. Lookman for me, but I do like Barcola. That's a good shout. And the rest of your midfielders look very strong. The only problem with it is that they all play on the 23rd with the exception of Christian Pulisic, which maybe might push you towards going for the other option. I don't think Gonçalves is a doubt, but he's just recovered from an injury. So, yeah, there's no guarantee he starts. This is a wildcard team, FPL K-Mag. Literally what you see on screen is the updated wildcard team, and this is the best Limitless team updated. Now, there's a few things that could change, and I've said this all along. My team isn't locked in. I could change a few of these if I go for the Limitless, and even my transfer plans, which is this. The 2 free transfers are Lookman and Rico Lewis. So ultimately, you know, just bear that in mind. But I think the updated wildcard team would be something like this, looking longer term. There are some issues, of course. Double Atalanta could be a problem around matchday 6 or 7. Also, Kokchu does face Bayern Munich in matchday 4. But I think long term, this is a very strong setup. You might want to go for Franco Israel instead of Perrin as well to partner Jan Sommer. Thoughts on Florentino from Benfica? He's been very good in ball recoveries, and any other good options? I have Yamal, Elise, Wirtz and Kimmich. Well, definitely not on a Limitless, but I think for a normal transfer, he's fairly decent. 12 points so far this season. I think you're right to point out the ball recoveries, which is very impressive to say the least. And in fact, the amount he's got is 23, which is staggering. So yeah, 5 million and below, I think Florentino is one of the safest options because he guarantees you 4 or 5 points every match day, essentially. So I like it. Is Haaland essential? No, he's not essential, but I think he's a great option. I wouldn't go without him on the Limitless, in my opinion. And if you have Haaland, don't sell him. Welcome to Stapaki. Good to see you. And thank you for moderating the chat. The same goes for Keith earlier. Massively appreciated. Yeah, Debast also a good choice, but I wouldn't buy him for a wild card or normal transfer because he faces Arsenal and City straight afterwards. So it would only be a Limitless punt for me. Hey Dylan, any differential captaincy suggestions? Pulisic on the Tuesday would be a good one. My current plan, so with my current setup, it would be Bellingham. I don't want that, and I think I will... actually, you know what? Screw that. I'd probably captain Gyökeres on the Tuesday here over Bellingham, but I think I will play the Limitless chip, and if I do that, I will see myself captaining somebody else like Ollie Watkins or Mbappe, should I bring them in. But it all depends on that, and nothing is settled right now. There's a possibility that Wirtz is not going to play tomorrow. Is it valid? There's a chance he doesn't start, but he will definitely be in the squad, 100%. I personally think he will be in the lineup, but I think we can have a different opinion there. Are you going to use your chip today? Probably. Like I said, the Limitless chip is very likely. Wirtz or Rodgers on Limitless? Assuming they both start, it would be Florian Wirtz. Can you farm free transfers? You can roll, and that will give you free transfers in the league phase, but you can't stack more than that. So if you got 2 free transfers, don't use a single one. You won't have 4 free transfers next week, even if you do something, you know, clever about making transfers, play the Limitless. That's not going to carry through. So ultimately, only free transfers. You know, that's the most you can have in the league phase. Bastoni, Hernandez, or Hakimi? Hakimi is probably my favourite on the Tuesday. And just for UCL Fantasy and Matchday 3 in general, I think he's my favourite. Who to captain on day 1? Once again, I think Pulisic is a good option. Mbappe, Watkins will be right up there. Even an Arsenal attacker like cCaFxb, they would all be right in the thinking. But I think Watkins or Mbappe is my favourite pick. Gyökeres is also not too shabby, by the way. So that's kind of like my top 5, but there are other options that I haven't even mentioned. We should use our 2 free transfers before using Limitless. No, I just covered that. You can't do that. You know, if you do it, it will be wiped out anyway, so you're wasting your time. In a weird spot with my team, have Carvajal, Inacio, and Di Gregorio out with Valverde and Kun, who I don't like. Still have the likes of Kane, Haaland, Victor, Mo, Trent, Yamal, Gvardiol, to name a few. Wildcard. Well, some of those options, you know, Haaland, Kane, Salah, Trent, they're all amazing options in the long term. The only problem is some of them have tough fixtures, like Kane this week. Trent and Salah have tough games from matchday 4 onwards, but I don't think that's necessarily wildcard territory, although Gvardiol might not start, so I can see why you've got some doubts. Any other Tuesday midfielder apart from Pulisic? Barcola would be one of them. I also think if we have a full look at the fixtures again on the Tuesday, I can see why people are struggling with the Limitless or even just with normal transfers. I think one of Yildiz or Kerem could be fairly decent, actually, very underrated. Also Morgan Rogers and an Arsenal midfielder like Martinelli or Trossard. So I still like all of them. You can't discount Bellingham. I don't think he's suddenly washed and he's never going to score again. I think he could do well against Borussia Dortmund. He got an assist in the Champions League final against them back in May. Or was it June now? But yeah, I think all of those options would be fairly decent, actually. Thank you once again to Goldhead for moderating the chat as well. So just address or read the pin comment because that does cover it. Repeat questions may be skipped and spamming will not be tolerated. Will Lautaro Martinez start or will it be Taremi? I think it'll be Taremi based on all the reports. So that answers both of your questions there. Georgie says Emi, Saliba and Gabriel or Raya, Saliba and Deem. Great question. Probably Raya, Saliba and Deem would be my favourite, but I'd recommend Gabriel over Saliba personally, although there's not much to separate them. Yeah, Lookman for Limitless. Yeah. Are Lewis, Akanji and Wirtz predicted to start? Yes, on all fronts. Rika or Akanji? Long-term Rika Lewis. I think this week I'd play it safe and go for Akanji. Best Villa defender between Luka Dean and Pau Torres. I think either one is fine. Lookman or Martinelli? Lookman. Midfielder from the Gunners? I'd say Martinelli personally, but I can understand why some people might not be feeling it. He missed a big chance against Bournemouth, which probably would have given Arsenal the win, despite the circumstances. Yeah, Havertz will definitely play. It's just a question of will he play up front or will he play in the midfield, where he's less effective. Lamine and Rafinha, good pick for midfield? Yes, but not in matchday 3. If you're playing the Limitless, I wouldn't go for them, but it's up to you. Taking out Lewandowski from -4 for Retegui is worth it? No. Lewandowski can score against Bayern Munich, and long-term, you want to keep him. So, yeah, I personally wouldn't do it. I can see why you're, trying to do an aggressive transfer, but I think Lewandowski is a far better option long-term. I'm using Limitless right now. I think it was perfect because most of my players had hard fixtures, and when my team goes back to normal, they will have easier fixtures. Exactly. That's one of the key reasons why I think the Limitless works really well for a lot of people, and it's completely up to you. Thank you, Winter Soldier. I'll have a look at that right now. So let me get them up. So AC Milan and Monaco. Yeah, the lineups are all out. We've got the formations as well ready. So let's kick things off with AC Milan. And of course, they've got a few interesting UCL Fantasy options. So Maignan in goal, Emerson, Gabbia, Tomori, Theo Hernandez, Fofana, Loftus-Cheek, Pulisic, Reinders, Rafael Leao, and Morata. By the way, sorry, I think earlier I got confused with Morata and Atletico Madrid, so I do apologise about that. Yeah, I think Morata could be a decent punt actually for AC Milan. And Pulisic is my favourite UCL Fantasy option overall. So yeah, pretty much the 11 I talked about for AC Milan was spot on. Absolutely spot on. I think the manager himself, Fonesca, did reveal it. So yeah, it makes sense, unless he wanted to troll people. As for the Club Brugge lineup, we have that on screen as well. So I'll leave that up for a little bit longer and also get the Monaco versus Red Star Belgrade lineup as well. So yeah, we do have over 1,000 people watching. Thank you very much for your support. Be sure to smash the like button if you haven't already. And thank you to all subscribers. We hit 29,000 today. I believe so anyway, but I'm very confident we did. So thank you very much for your support. The same goes for the channel members, super chatters, and patrons. You're all massively appreciated. Let's now go to the Monaco lineup. So, yeah, Vanderson starts. No Salisu, as predicted. And yeah, Mbolo could be a decent shout up front. Zakari obviously got a big return in Matchday 1, but he's a defensive midfielder. Yeah, my favourite option for Monaco would be Vanderson at right back. Salisu, unfortunately, is missing out. Otherwise, I really would have backed him. Is he on the bench? No, he isn't. So he could be out for quite some time. The Red Star Belgrade lineup is also out. Maybe if you're fancying them to give a bit of a shock here. And you never know. They've got a bit of history in this competition as well. So those are the lineups. I will go back to my team very shortly. And of course, the Limitless and Wildcard squads. Just rewind though, because I have showed both teams, recently. And many times actually, so be sure to check it out. Just rewind the stream for those points. If Lautaro's not available, do you think Thuram will start? Well, from what I've heard, and all the reports indicate there will be Arnautovic and Taremi starting, so not really, actually. I'm guessing that's Declan Rice. I wouldn't go for him in UCL Fantasy. Earlier in this calendar year, he showed a bit of attacking potential, mainly from set pieces, but hasn't really done it this year. He's had a bit of a poor start for his standards. I think he played well against Bournemouth, but before that, I think he's been under par for his high level. So I just wouldn't go for him in this game right now. I'll probably use the Limitless, Gabriel, yeah. But I have covered everything, basically. So let's just put it into context. If I only make 2 free transfers, which is very unlikely, I'll go for something like this, buying Lookman and Rico Lewis for Kim Min-jae and Kimmich. On screen now is the best wildcard team, the updated version. Now you can change a few things to your liking. You could go for maybe Ollie Watkins up front, or you can go for Kai Havertz and then go for a better midfielder instead of Kokchu, or someone more expensive at least. But I do like this setup in the long term, and this will be the kind of best Limitless team I would like to go for. Hopefully we get some news about Saka starting against Shakhtar in the next hour or so, and I'll buy him for Florian Wirtz and kind of stick with this 15-man squad, I think, but doesn't look too likely. And in the end, I will probably have to make some late changes before the deadline. Is Foden going to start? It's very likely. Not guaranteed, but I think he will. Why Wirtz over Yamal in the wildcard team? Well, this is one of the things you could do. You buy Wirtz right now, and then sell him to Yamal in Matchday 4 when Wirtz has tougher fixtures. But I think Wirtz is probably a better use of fantasy option than Yamal, to be quite honest with you. Even if Leverkusen have a tough game, I'd back Wirtz to do something in that match. I think Yamal can have a great game without getting a goal or assist. So, look, they're both really good choices, but I prefer Wirtz in general anyway. Captain Lookman or Gyökeres? Probably Gyökeres, I think, but I do prefer other forwards over Gyökeres. Now, Lookman is still a great choice. I don't mind that. If I only have 3 players playing today, should I use the Limitless? Oof. I mean, what are these 3 players, and are your Wednesday players bad? Because if you've got Salah, Haaland, and really good choices on the Wednesday, then I know it's not ideal, but you don't have the wildcard or Limitless just for that reason. Kane to Taremi, Haaland, Valverde to Lookman, Musiala, Pulisic for a -4. I like it, to be fair. I'd probably do it. Now, try to have a way to get back to Kane next week or Matchday 5. But apart from that, it looks really good. Barcola versus Dembele. Barcola. Are they good options? Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't double up, but I think one's enough. Sí, en este momento estoy pensando en usar el Limitless. No es cierto. Y hay una posibilidad que voy a usar 2 transferencias que serían estos, si lo pongo ahora en la pantalla. Lookman y Rico Lewis por Kim Min-jae y Kimmich. Pero lo más probable es que voy a usar el Limitless y poner estos 15 jugadores, pero puede haber cambios como Mbappé por Watkins y también alguien como, digamos, Trent Alexander-Arnold por Frimpong o quizás otro defensor también. Así que hay espacio y hay tiempo para hacer más cambios en este equipo. So, let's get back. So yeah, thank you to those that have subscribed. We have hit 29k today, but we are now making big progress already towards 30,000. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss a single upload or live stream, and smash the like button of this stream. We've got over 1,000 people watching. Let's get the likes up to 400 plus. That would be greatly appreciated as always. Welcome, Baraf. Good to see you. Leverkusen defensive double up. On the Limitless, I don't mind it, but I wouldn't recommend it on the wildcard or free transfers because they've got tough games coming up afterwards, and I think they'll concede goals. Now, with both players, they're kind of there for the attacking potential, but I think one's enough. Why Hakimi over Nuno Mendes? I think he's a bit more attacking. He's got better assist threat. And in terms of ball recoveries, I think they're both very good, to be fair. I like Nuno Mendes. That's a good shout, but I just prefer Hakimi. It's really a close call. Hi, Dylan. Griezmann. Yeah, Griezmann's a good shout. He could play on the right wing, though, with Sorloth down the middle and Alvarez on the left. But Griezmann is my favourite Atletico attacker. So, good shout. Already used Limitless and have 4 players out. Should I wildcard? Well, with 2 free transfers, you've only got 2 players out, right? And if you're happy with your squad, I'd probably stick with the 2 free transfers or maybe a -4 hit. So it all depends on your team. I don't know the 15 players you have, so it's difficult for me to work. To say, does the league code work? It should do. I'm not sure why it wouldn't. Yeah, it almost certainly does. Just make sure that it's the right one, so it's capital letters and also lowercase. It is case sensitive, so that might be the problem. Yeah, I don't think Saka will play. Will Carvalho start? Carvalho's out for the rest of the season. He's not going to play again until September or October next year. Why Frimpong over Grimaldo? That's been covered in all of my videos. It's really a 50-50 call. I just think Frimpong's been in better form recently, but you can go for either one. It's honestly not a big issue. Hakimi or Trent? I think Hakimi this week. Martinelli or Trossard or Raheem the Dream Sterling? I wish it's Raheem the Dream Sterling. I don't know. I think Martinelli is my favourite this week. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling. Vanderson or Hernandez? Hernandez. Dean or Schlotterbeck? Saves me a transfer next week if I get Schlotterbeck this week. Dean. Saka off Y. That's been covered, mate. So he wasn't in training yesterday. I don't think he's going to start. Pedro Gonçalves. I think he's going to start. He wasn't in the predicted lineup, though, on UEFA.com, which is very reliable. Lookman versus Salah for Limitless. I'd go for Salah still. Hi, Dylan. Pulisic or Wirtz for the next 2 games? Florian Wirtz. Trent or Hakimi using Limitless? Hakimi once again. Into defensive option. Well, some are in goal, but if not, maybe Bastoni. There is no guarantee he starts, though. If I go once again to the Inter predicted lineup, let me see if I can get that up as well. So yeah, that's been covered. Acerbi and Kalinoglu are out, by the way, for anybody who's tuning in now. Make sure to get rid of them. That's been confirmed. So let's get this up. Bastoni. So on UEFA.com, they've put Sommer, Pavard, De Vrij, Bastoni, Dumfries, Mkhitaryan, Fratesi, Barella, DeMarco, Thuram, and Lautaro Martinez. But I personally don't think Lautaro will start. It will be Taremi instead. Zielinski is also out for Inter Milan, by the way, and Aslani is doubtful. Salah or Mbappe long term? I think they're both great options. I think Salah might have a slightly higher ceiling, but he's got more difficult fixtures. I'd still probably go for, I think, Salah at the moment, based on form as well. Gabriel and Saliba, I still like it, but I think one is enough, I think, yeah. Who should be the captain between Watkins, Vlahovic, Pulisic? Probably Watkins for me. Hey Dylan, hope you're well. I don't think Gvardiol starts. No. And also Guardiola commented on Gvardiol specifically. He said he can't play every 3 or 4 days. And now look, you can't read too much into what Pep says, but yeah, there is a chance he doesn't start this game. It's a great opportunity to rotate and still get the win. Mbappe or Watkins? That is one of my big dilemmas on the Limitless this week. And at the moment, I'm favouring Watkins. Is it too much to triple up on the AC Milan team? Maybe. I think 1 or 2 is probably the sweet spot. I think AC Milan are an unreliable team. The only squads you want to triple up on are like Man City, Real Madrid when they're clicking, Barcelona with a good fixture, Bayern Munich, but I don't think AC Milan are worth tripling up on. I think Hernandez and Pulisic is more than enough. Why not Kokchu for Wirtz Salah on the Limitless? I already covered him on the wildcard, if you can see here. I just wouldn't go for him on the Limitless over the options you mentioned. If Wirtz starts, I think he's a better choice all day long. Hakimi or Vanderson? It would be Hakimi. The lineups have been covered already if you rewind the stream, so I'm not going to go through that again. Yeah, Gyökeres as captain is fine. Martinelli or Gundogan? Probably Gundogan. Bar versus Bastoni versus Gabriel. Pick one. Gabriel. I prefer Martinelli over Lookman. I think Martinelli could be a good shout. I've got a good feeling about him this week and probably needs to atone for his miss against Bournemouth on Saturday. But I prefer Lookman personally. Captain Pulisic or Gyökeres. It's very close, but I think I'd go for Pulisic. Now that Bastoni is starting, well, it's not confirmed he's starting, mate. I just put one predicted lineup from UEFA.com. Would you take him over anyone in the current Limitless team? Not really. No, I don't think so. I've got Summer in goal, regardless. I think young boys could score since they're at home. What is the perfect defence? There is no such thing, but I think what you see on screen now, the Limitless, is as close as you can get to perfect in Matchday 3, but there is still Trent Alexander-Arnold you can go for, maybe Saliba, and double up on Arsenal defensively that way. Luka Dean's a good choice. There is no perfect defence, but this would be my favourite. Will Lewis play? I think so. Watkins or Gyökeres long term? Watkins, because Gyökeres plays Arsenal and City very soon. Be careful of Inter assets, they play Juve next. Exactly. I still think someone will start, but if he was benched, it wouldn't completely surprise me. So, yeah, you're an Inter fan, you will know more than I do, but yeah, I personally think someone will start, but the other options you mentioned, you just can't guarantee it. You really can't. Rodgers or Trossard? Probably Rodgers. Watkins or Gyökeres long term? I've covered that. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Limitless. My team is so cooked, consisting of players from Barca, BVB, Madrid and Bayern. Well, that's what the Limitless is there for. It bails you out of a tough situation, and you can go back to these players in Matchday 4 when they've got good fixtures, so it looks good. Saka is probably going to miss out today, pretty much. He wasn't in training yesterday, which doesn't look promising. Goalkeeper for Wednesday? For me, it would be Sommer, but if you want to go for a more nailed-on option, so to speak, because Inter might rotate, then I think on the Wednesday, I would probably look at Oblak. I think he would be my next favourite option on the Wednesday. There is Ortega for Man City, but even then, you could see Ederson start, and I just don't want to go there with City's goalkeeper rotation in the Champions League. Best captain for today is between Watkins, Mbappe, Gyökeres, Pulisic, and I'd say an Arsenal attacker. But my favourite is probably between Watkins and I'd say Pulisic is up there, yeah. I really like him. Trent or Theo Hernandez? Theo Hernandez this week, but long-term, Trent is the better option. Yeah, I think Bastoni is a risk. I've said that all along. I still think someone will play, but maybe Ivans is right and I'm incorrect about that specific one. But I think Bastoni, it's just not worth risking it in my opinion. Dumfries start? Honestly, couldn't tell you, mate. I'm just being honest. Best Tuesday defender after Gabriel and Hakimi? Theo Hernandez. Taremi and Foden or Haaland and Pulisic? I would go for Haaland and Pulisic. Alright, so I'm going to try lock in my team fairly soon because I don't want this to go to 5:45 PM UK time and, you know, basically doing last minute changes. So hopefully I can lock in my team fairly soon, or at least commit to a certain strategy. So as things stand, I'm very likely going to pull the trigger on the Limitless, and yeah, I think that's probably the best course of action for my team, because if we go back to my non-Limitless squad, so I've got Blažević in goal, who might not even start. Di Gregorio is suspended for Matchday 3. Trent, Saliba and Grimaldo look really good, but then I've got Kim Min-jae and Kubarsi. They face each other. I think both teams score, so I don't see many points there for both players. Bellingham, not the worst option, but he hasn't scored a single goal for Real Madrid this season. He might go back to his original position as the attacking midfielder or second striker. That could really help him. Yamal is a good choice long term, but he faces Bayern Munich this week. Florian Wirtz, he would still be on my Limitless as things stand, but there is a slight doubt about him because he picked up an injury over the international break. He played 30 minutes over the weekend. Let's see if he plays and starts against Brest. I think he will, but it's not a guarantee. Gittins might not even start against Real Madrid, and honestly, I don't think he'll do anything there anyway. Harry Kane faces Barcelona away. I could easily see him blanking or only getting one goal there, which will be like 6 points maximum. Gyökeres and Haaland look really good, and I've got Kimmich on my bench. So essentially, I've got, let's say, 6 good options this week in Gyökeres, Haaland, Wirtz if he starts, Trent, Saliba and Grimaldo. Then I've got the likes of Kane and Yamal, who are great options long term, but they face each other this week and I don't really like them, and I think there are better options in their positions in Matchday 3. So essentially, I think with the Limitless, I make 9 upgrades essentially, and I also gain 2 goalkeepers and an extra player in my starting 11 as a result, because I don't think Blažević will start, and like I said, the Juventus goalkeeper is suspended. So ultimately, I think the Limitless is the best course of action, and I'll probably do it. But In the case that I don't, and I make 2 free transfers, and I'm very stubborn, I will buy the likes of Lookman and Rico Lewis, to name 2 examples, for Kim Min-jae and Joshua Kimmich. Suddenly that looks slightly better, right? But yeah, I still think the Limitless does improve upon this team drastically, because from this, you can go to this in Matchday 3 with a much higher ceiling. So yeah, I think I'm quite committed to this plan, but I haven't activated it yet, as you can see on screen. So let's go back to your questions again for a little bit longer, and then I'll start to lock in things into place. I would not recommend copying, but people will still do that anyway. There's not much I can do. There's a few super chats that for some reason haven't appeared for me, but I've got them up here now. Is Wirtz injured? No. So he picked up an injury problem during the international break, but he played over the weekend. He came on as a substitute, and in many predicted lineups, Wirtz is in it, and I personally think he will do, but it's a good opportunity maybe to go against him if you are playing the Limitless or Wildcard. So you don't have to go for Florian Wirtz, to be fair. Is Barcola an option? Definitely. I had him in Matchday 1. He was very disappointing against Girona. I sold him against Arsenal, but I do like him against PSV. I think he'll score his first Champions League goal this season. That's my prediction. He also scored another goal. I think it was on Saturday, but definitely in the last couple of days, he did score. Joining late, Wildcard versus Limitless Matchday 3. It is team dependent, but ultimately, I would look to use the Limitless in many scenarios, because a lot of people will have Borussia Dortmund, Barcelona, Bayern Munich players, maybe an injured player for this week, but they might want them long term. They've got someone like Harry Kane, who isn't really someone to sell, but he's also not great for Matchday 3. You might have a suspended player like Di Gregorio. In that scenario, I think the Limitless is perfect. Of course, you could argue some teams, top teams by the way, have very difficult fixtures, but you've also got some of the best teams in Europe with a very good game, like Man City at home against Sparta Prague. Arsenal are still heavy favourites against Shakhtar, even if Bukayo Saka misses out. So it's all team dependent. For some people, the wildcard might be the best course of action, but I think for a lot of people, the Limitless is the best choice. So that's all been covered. Thank you very much for all the super chats. Massively appreciated. Do you think going for both Lookman and Retegui is viable? Yes, but I'd only go for one personally, and Lookman's my favourite. Lautaro might not start Alejandro, so I wouldn't go for him. I would go for Watkins over Lautaro. Gabriel versus Liba versus Hakimi versus Theo. I'm not sure how many I'm picking here, but Gabriel's my favourite of the four. I have forgotten, if you play Limitless or Wildcard, you lose free transfers. I don't think you do. So if you've got free transfers available, you'll still have free in the following week. You won't gain any though. I think in previous years, if I'm not mistaken, if you had 2 free transfers, then played Limitless, you'd then have free transfers afterwards. I don't think that's the case now. But yeah, you basically keep what you had before. Do you think Dean starts? Yep. Pulisic or Watkins captain? Very close, but I'd probably go for Ollie Watkins. Yeah, I covered the lineups already, Hosea. Thank you very much. Captain Mbappe or Vlahovic? Probably Vlahovic, but it's very close. I mean, these are some of the conundrums I've got myself, because there's a lot of strikers I'd like to go for this week. I don't have Mbappe, for example, or Vinicius Jr. There's also cCaFxb, who I still like. Gyökeres. It's very difficult to kind of narrow it down to 3, but I'd probably go for Vlahovic at the moment. DeMarco, not a guarantee he starts. I'd probably avoid Inter Milan in general. I think Sommer will start, but that's not even guaranteed 100%. They'll likely rotate. Thank you, Ahmed, for the shout out. I agree. So if you are watching, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. It'd be greatly appreciated. Musiala has been in training, Baraf. He might not start, but he is in contention to play. I think he'll make a cameo off the bench, but do not be surprised to see him in that starting 11. I wouldn't go for him in UCL Fantasy, though, particularly on a Limitless. Luka Dean or Rico Lewis? Probably Rico Lewis. I think he starts, but it is risky. Choose one, Barcola or Gyökeres for captaincy. Probably Gyökeres, but they're both good options. I actually started Matchday 1 with both of them. Pulisic, Gyökeres, Vlahovic or Barcola captain. My favourite is probably Pulisic. Will Jesus start over Havertz? Havertz is not going to be benched for me. I don't think that's going to happen. If anything, Jesus might play on the right wing instead of Saka, and Havertz plays up front. No worries, Alejandro. Vinicius or Mbappe, and why? Mbappe, I think he's the talismanic figure in terms of goals. He's on penalties, and he's got a very consistent GA record in the Champions League, although Vinicius as well has been very good. But I think Mbappe is on another level in terms of goal scoring, and also in terms of recent games, I think his form is slightly better goal scoring wise. Dembele or Lookman? Lookman. Watkins or Mbappe? My current thinking, Luis, is Watkins, but I'm kind of shifting from one to the other. So on Patreon, for example, I did show Mbappe, but I do think Watkins is kind of what I'm leaning towards right now. Right now, Jesus, I sound like I'm crying. Right now, I'll see what I can do afterwards. Retegui or Gyökeres? I think Gyökeres, I'm not going to lie to you, mate. And you can go for Lookman to cover Atalanta. Trossard, Martinelli or Sterling? Martinelli is my current preference, mate. Must-haves on Limitless? I don't think there is a must-have, but the closest to it would be Haaland. I really think that. Best alternative for Saka on a Limitless? Lookman and Foden would be two of them, but it depends on who you have already. Watkins most of the time gets subbed off at minute 60. That is true. In the Champions League anyway, that is true. I think if they are chasing a game or they're drawing, Duran will come on alongside Watkins, but if they're winning by 2 or 3, yeah, that is true. Watkins could be subbed off early. That is a good point. Yeah, Florentino, I covered him earlier. Someone asked me about him. Very good recovery option. Why Akanji, not Gvardiol? Akanji might not start. Gvardiol might not start. I think Akanji's more likely. Hey Dylan, is Saka available? I don't think so. If not, should I opt for Trossard? I'd go for Foden. I honestly would. Watkins versus Leao? Watkins. Martinez or Raya? I've gone for Martinez because I've got Gabriel in my defensive line, but I think in isolation, I'd go for Raya. Wildcard or Limitless? Limitless for most people. I can't speak for everybody. Mendes or Kimi? Both really good choices. I'd probably go for Hakimi, but it's honestly really close. Why Lookman over Barcola? I think Celtic is a better fixture than PSV at home, and I also think Atalanta are a bit more convincing so far this season in the Champions League. Kokchu or Salah? Salah. Best double-up keeper with Raya? Sommer. Although he is a little bit risky. You might want to go for Oblak instead. Why no Kane or Rafinha? I just think it's a tough game to call. It could be high scoring, but it also wouldn't surprise me if it was a cagey game. 1-1 is my current prediction, and with that in mind, I'd rather go for different midfielders with a better opponent to score more goals, create more chances, and just have a better opportunity to score many points. It's up to you, though. 2 players to start in my team between. Okay, I guess I'll see it soon. Best chip strategy. Check out the chip strategy guide. I can't go into more detail than what I did in that video, but essentially, I've always said the Limitless between match days 2 to 7 is the best time to use it. And for the wild card, you might want to save it for the knockout stages depending on your strategy. But if not, I think either match day 8 to then kind of build a kind of mini Limitless team in match day 8 where everyone plays at the same time. Or if not, you can play in the midway point of the league phase in match day 4. But my current plan at the moment is to Limitless in match day 3 and then wild card probably at some stage in the league phase, but it isn't 100% locked in. Check out that video to see the reasons why. Why do you choose Theo? Plays on Tuesday, home fixture, attacking potential, ball recoveries. There's quite a few reasons. Best 3 attackers. It's difficult for me. I mean, even with Watkins, I'm kind of not 100% settled on him because of the minutes, which has been raised by some viewers. It could be Mbappe, for example. But yeah, Haaland would be up there. He's probably number 1. I think Vlahovic would also be up there alongside Watkins. Also, I have to say Mbappe is still a great choice for me. I really think that. Edison or Sommer? Sommer. I don't think Edison even starts. I think Ortega could start there instead. I wouldn't go for him. Yeah, I mentioned Gazzaniga earlier, actually, when talking about the predicted lineups. He is probably the best Girona asset, but Girona are 12th in the Liga table. They've conceded 13 goals in the league. Not really that good. Why not Limitless in Game Week 8? No, not for me. So I just explained now that if you wildcard in Matchday 8, you basically can build a mini Limitless team. So you spend all your money on your starting 11, and on your bench you go for the cheapest options available. So with everyone playing at the same time, you can't make subs anyway. So that is your best chance of scoring a lot of points by playing the wildcard in Matchday 8. If you play the Limitless in that Matchday, you can't make substitutions. So I don't really think you're making the best use of that chip because you're going over budget, but you know, some of these players are on your bench and are never going to come on for you. And one of the biggest, you know, factors and maybe powers you could serve UCL Fantasy is to make substitutions from the Tuesday to the Wednesday and bolstering your chance of getting points. You sub out players you've blanked who haven't scored that many points, and you bring on those yet to play. So I personally would use the Limitless between match days 2 to 7 and the wildcard maybe in match day 8, but I certainly wouldn't use the Limitless in the last match day of the league phase. Limitless or wildcard this match day? For most people, Limitless. I cannot speak for everybody. I can't stress this enough. And I don't know the context of your team, and most people who have asked this haven't even said their team, so it's impossible for me to say with 100% certainty. Kokchu or Yamal on the wildcard? I've gone for Kokchu. He is cheaper after all, but from matchday 4 onwards, I think Yamal is a much better option. And I kind of got mixed up between asset and option there. Who are your top 4 forwards on the wildcard? So going back to the wildcard team, I think Kane, Haaland, Vlahovic, and probably Watkins is my top 4. I think that's what I'd go for. Yeah, I think Wirtz will start. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend him. Will Savio play? I think so. He was in the predicted lineup on UEFA.com, and also from some City fans I've seen. Rank them. I think you've asked this before, mate, but my favourites would probably be Vlahovic first, Watkins second, Havertz third, Gyökeres fourth, and Taremi fifth. You know what? Yeah, I'll stick with that. I'll stick with that because in future match days, we could see Taremi benched against Arsenal in match day 4, for example, whilst Gyökeres faces Arsenal and City in match days 4 and 5. Otherwise, he would be higher than Havertz on my list. But yeah, I'd probably go for it. Vlahovic, Watkins, Havertz, Gyökeres, and Taremi. Now, if you are talking about match day 3 only, I'd probably give a different ranking there, but it all depends on the context of your question. Captain Havertz or Theo Hernandez? Havertz still. I'm a bit uneasy about captaining a defender, but in UCL Fantasy it is more viable with ball recovery points, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Kanasetschi over Summer? Not a bad shout, but I prefer Summer. I think he's got a better chance of a clean sheet. Frimpong over Grimaldo, why? I'm not sure if it was you, mate, if you asked this, but I've been asked this before, and it's honestly 50-50. There's not anything separating both of them. Go for whichever one. The reason why I've gone for Frimpong at the moment is better form, and that's why I started the season with Grimaldo when Frimpong had a pretty poor start, whilst Grimaldo was in really good form at the time. Are you planning to use the Limitless? Yes, that is the most likely scenario. Hey Dylan, why Captain Haaland if he just plays tomorrow? Oh yeah, so what you see on screen is out of date, and it's also just the template for your for you to see. So this is the wildcard team, the updated version, building upon that podcast, and then this is the best Limitless team. My current captain is Gyökeres with my own setup, but I will likely Limitless and make changes anyway. So we've got around 40 minutes left until the deadline. I think I'm going to play the Limitless, to be honest, and it's about locking in this team. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat, but I'm actually starting to, sense a few possible changes I could make. So one of them would be Emi Martinez out for David Raya and keeping the faith with Arsenal. Then I'll get rid of someone like Frimpong, potentially. Don't cry. It's just a possibility. And then I'll go for Luka Dean or Pau Torres to cover Aston Villa and also gain another Tuesday player, which helps me to, have more information about the players that I've blanked in my 50-man squad and then sub them out for those yet to play on the Wednesday. So with those changes, I would have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players on the Tuesday and then 7 on the Wednesday. So it's not even that great, actually. You might even want an extra Tuesday player, but ultimately it's about points, fixtures, and the players you back to do well. Try not to jeopardize too much just for the sake of having more players on the Tuesday. Still try to strike a balance between that, the Tuesday and Wednesday players and that balance there, but also the players you really want and the fixtures you want to target. So just be very careful with how you balance everything out in UCL Fantasy. But I do like those possible changes. If not, I'll go back to Emi Martinez in goal. And I'll also go for maybe Saliba instead of Luka Dean, or I'll just stick with Frimpong. That's another opportunity. But I do think Brest could score against Leverkusen. I really do. And if that's the case, it might be worth changing it. Even Florian Wirtz is on the chopping block. Ollie Watkins as well. I could go to Kylian Mbappe, for example. That isn't completely logged in for me. So there are some tough decisions to make here on the Limitless. But essentially, if I do play the chip, which is almost certain, I think on the Tuesday, I will captain either, I think, Pulisic or Watkins/Mbappe, whoever I end up going for potentially. And you could argue with that logic, why not go for Watkins and Mbappe and ditch Vlahovic. That is something else I'm also thinking about. So I think the forward line is what I'm least confident about because there are so many options. I'm more settled on my midfield five. My main issue with this position, though, is most of them play on the Wednesday. Only one of them plays today, which is Christian Pulisic against Club Brugge. So yeah, I'm going to log this in fairly soon, hopefully, but do not copy if possible and try to go even further than what I'm doing this season because, as you see, I can have some bad game weeks as I did in Matchday 2. Thank you to Stepaki for moderating the chat and Aranya for the super chat. Dylan, best most nailed on strikers in Matchday 3 only. I mean, you could argue the term nailed on, and I've said it before in my videos, even today, you know, it's a bit of a myth. You know, no one is essentially 100%, but I think the most likely would be Erling Haaland, Vlahovic, and one of Mbappe or Watkins. I really think that for Matchday 3 only, that's kind of the pool of players I'd really look towards going to. The problem with Watkins, though, in this kind of debate about being nailed on or not, he could be subbed off around 60 minutes, so maybe you kind of discount him from that equation, and in terms of expected minutes, you just go for Mbappe because there's no like-for-like replacement for Mbappe in that Real Madrid team, although Rodrigo and Vinicius love to cut in from the left like he does. So, very interesting question, but essentially I'd probably go for the front three on screen there, Mbappe, Vlahovic, and Erling Haaland. Victor Salazar says, Mbappe or Vinicius? Mbappe for me, but it is close. I still think Vinicius is a good option, but I prefer Mbappe. I don't think Retegi's nailed, no. I think he'll start in Matchday 3, but I mean, he came on for 20 minutes, 30 minutes against Shakhtar back in Matchday 2. He is not a nailed-on player for me. Good question. Best time to use the Limitless apart from Matchday 3. Anytime between Matchdays 4 to 7, depending on the context of your team. How many suspensions and injuries do you have? Do you maybe have some difficult fixtures for a lot of your players like I do this week? So it essentially comes down to your setup, but I would definitely say Matchdays 4 to 7, any stage between that is completely fine. Is Limitless a lock for this week? I'd say 90% chance. And I've tried to be transparent about this all along because I sometimes, you know, overthink, tinker, and think of alternative solutions. And in that scenario, maybe I could just use 2 free transfers and save the Limitless for another day. But yeah, I think it's very likely for me. It's almost locked in. Matchday 5 isn't bad, like I just mentioned now. Any time between Matchdays 2 to 7 is a great chance to use the Limitless. And it was all team dependent ultimately. It's risky with Gavardio because if he starts and gets 60 plus minutes, I think he does well. But I'd probably say sell, especially on a Limitless. I wouldn't go for him with that chip just in case. That's been covered, Tiggy Taylor. So when Aranya put a super chat, I think the top 3 in terms of expected minutes, the high ceiling, Champions League record, is probably Haaland, Mbappe and Vlahovic. But there is also Watkins, Havertz, Gyökeres. I like them a lot. But I think maybe this 3 is the safest front 3. Yep, I've considered it as well already. Same with Watkins over Mbappe. I've got some big decisions to make, so it's not locked in. Mohammed, that's been covered many times, mate. So right now, what you see on screen is the updated wildcard team, something to this level. You could just keep Yamal, by the way, or Rafinha, despite the tough fixture, and maybe you don't go for Kokchu, but that would require a downgrade elsewhere. I've only got 0.1 million left in the bank. I'm not sure, by the way, if price changes have happened, or have I changed something? No, I've changed something myself. I put Zappacosta in for Kolasinac just in case. But yeah, I still think Kolasinac starts, by the way, but he wasn't in training yesterday. The good thing, though, is that Atalanta play tomorrow. It's not like with the Saka news where he didn't train on Monday and he plays on Tuesday, which is a bit more concerning. No, I don't think Saka is fit. He wasn't in training yesterday. So, Pulisic as captain, I don't mind that. I really don't mind that whatsoever. Why Madrid players? Well, I've only got 1, mate. It's not like I got 2 or 3. Mbappe is a world-class player who is fixture-proof. And Real Madrid tend to score goals against Borussia Dortmund. I mean, they beat them 2-0 in the Champions League final just a couple of months ago. It's a different circumstance right now. I think Madrid are struggling to click, but I think you can't really back against Mbappe at any stage. I'm not saying he's definitely locked in my team, by the way, so just bear that in mind. Havertz or Vlahovic or Watkins for Limitless. It's between Vlahovic and Watkins. I think Havertz is a little bit lower down now, with Saka likely missing out. Captain Embolo today, since my other player is a defender. Okay, tomorrow Haaland depends on how Embolo performs. I think that's fair. I'd probably do the same thing as you, although I'm not too confident about Mbolo. Long term, that's a great transfer, Lautaro to Harry Kane, but not for matchday 3. If you are able to go for a short-term punt or somebody who can get you a really high ceiling this week, then maybe you could look elsewhere. So that's been covered to death today, to be quite honest with you. But just to summarize, I'd encourage you to check out my chip strategy guide because that gives all the details you need. Between matchday 2 to 7, I'd say Limitless is the best. No, that's the best time to use it. I think matchday 3 for a lot of people is a specific matchday in mind I've got. As for the wildcard, either matchday 8 or possibly later in the competition. I'm talking about the knockout stages, but it's all team dependent. You know, I could see myself using it early this season, maybe in matchday 4. But essentially, the wildcard in matchday 8 could allow you to have a mini Limitless team because everyone plays at the same time. You go for a starting 11, you put all the money in that team, and on your bench, you've got cheap options. Subs aren't able, you can't make subs anyway in matchday 8, so essentially the wildcard in matchday 8 would be like a Limitless. So those are some ideas for you. Best Arsenal attacking asset, probably Kai Havertz still, but I've got a good feeling about Martinelli. Why not go in good Gyökeres on Limitless? I think Sturmgrass aren't terrible, but it's not really because of it. It's because there's other options in the forward line. You know, it's not like Gyökeres is bad or he's facing a tough opponent. It's really because you've also got Vlahovic, Ollie Watkins, Haaland, Mbappe, Kai Havertz. But I think Gyökeres is still in the top 5, arguably. So, you know, just because he's not in my current updated Limitless team, it doesn't mean you can't go for him. And I could see him being one of my possible regrets if I do go about him in the end. So, yeah, go for him if you wish. You don't need me to kind of put you off. So what I just showed you on screen earlier was the best wildcard team. So that isn't a Limitless squad. This is my updated Limitless team, and Salah is in it. Tielemans, not bad, but also not great for me. I think on average you'll get 3 to 5 points every match day, which isn't bad, but I think there are better options, even Morgan Rogers, for example. FPL Austria on X is a Sturmgrass fan. He backs Gyökeres to do well. Like I said, I also think Gyökeres will do well, but you've also got Vlahovic, Mbappe, Watkins, Havertz, all these options in the forward line. It's all about picking and hoping for the best there. Lautaro is not expected to start. That's been covered already, so yeah, I'm not going to go through that too much. Bastoni, if he starts, good choice, but Inter Milan are expected to make changes, and I'd personally look to avoid them as much as possible. I think Sommer is less likely to be rotated, but even he isn't safe. Yes, my predictions, I'll go for that very soon, but just to kind of summarize it again, I've gone for 2-1 Monaco, 2-0 Aston Villa, 2-0 Sporting, 3-1 Leverkusen, a draw between Barcelona and Bayern Munich, 1-1, and then Salzburg 2, Dynamo Zagreb 1. Those are my current predictions, and Aston Villa is the Joker, the captain. The booster has been activated. I think they used to call it the Joker in this game. Limitless team locked. Cheers. Good stuff, and good luck for matchday 3. Probably Gazzaniga in goal. Apart from that, I'm not too sure about the rest of their options. Yeah, I'm not really feeling it. You know, last season they were very impressive, but they lost some of their best players like Savio and Dovbyk. I just wouldn't go there. Probably Sommer, the best Wednesday goalkeeper, but if not, you might want to consider Oblak instead. But they've conceded 5 goals in the Champions League so far this season, which isn't great. Kane or Gyökeres for Limitless? Gyökeres, yeah. Griezmann, good option, but he could play on the right wing. The starting 11 in, well, should I say the 11 that Atletico Madrid went for in training today had Sorloth down the middle, Alvarez on the left, and Griezmann on the right. Yeah, I think Raya is my favourite option in isolation. But the reason why I've gone for Martinez in most of my videos this week is for a balance. 1 Arsenal defender and 1 Aston Villa, but I might end up just doubling up on Arsenal defensively anyway and backing them to bounce back. Szoboszlai or Lookman? Lookman. Vlahovic or Pulisic as captain? Pulisic. Yeah, Perrin is going to start 100% because Di Gregorio is suspended. Yeah, Ortega, I think, will start, but there's still a slight doubt in my mind that Edison could still get the nod. It would not surprise me. I just want to avoid that headache and go for a Kanji or Lewis, who is still not absolutely nailed on, but I'd rather that be the case, you know, benching there you know, than your goalkeeper if you need it, because then you're down to 10 men, essentially, or you have to stick with 2 free points from the Tuesday player. Maybe that's a bad way of looking at it, but it is an argument. Kane long-term is better than cCaFxb, but this week, matchday 3 on the Limitless, I would go for the Swedish striker. I wouldn't take a -8 for Gabriel, no. Havertz or Vlahovic in Limitless, Vlahovic is my preference. Easiest Limitless team I've made in all my years playing UCL Fantasy. I'd be interested to see your Limitless team, Goldhead, although I think you mentioned it earlier, actually. Saka or Salah? Salah. I don't think Saka plays. He wasn't in training yesterday, mate. Timber was not spotted in training either. I don't think he starts. It'll be Ben White on the right. Probably Calafiori, Gabriel, and Saliba. I think that's the defensive four. Why move Frimpong for Dean? It's not locked in, mate. It's just another possibility and alternative I'm discussing. Lookman will play, in my opinion. Yeah. Fair enough, Goldhead. Good luck with your squad. Yeah, Lewis, I think will play. Kyle Walker is out. That was covered at the beginning of this stream. Thank you, Keith, once again. Best Limitless team. I mean, I don't know how many times I've got to go to it, but something like this, mate. Something like this. It's not 100% locked in, but I do like the look of it. So it could be Martinez in goal over Raya, and then I'll go for Saliba instead of Dean or Frimpong. And also I'm looking at cCaFxb and also Watkins up front. There's a lot of things to consider, but yeah, I think I'm just overthinking at this point, and it's time to lock in. We've got less than half an hour left. Let's just get this done. So yeah, let's get that out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to start locking this in, but trust me, I could make late changes all the way until the end. I think Taremi's good this week, but I wouldn't buy him on the wildcard or free transfer because against Arsenal in matchday 4, I could see Lautaro starting and Taremi on the bench there. Capitan. With this setup, it would likely be either Mbappe or Watkins or cCaFxb, whoever I go for up front on the Tuesday. Even Vlahovic is an option. On the Wednesday, Haaland is my captain. I'm not going to overcomplicate that. On the Tuesday, it's very open. Even Pulisic would be a great choice for me. But yeah, I think that's kind of what my thoughts are at the moment. Saka was going to be my guaranteed captain, but unfortunately, it looks like he's not going to start. I'm going to have a quick look on Twitter and see if we've got any news here. So just give me a second. Let's see if I got any news on Arsenal. Yeah, no news at the moment, it seems like. Gonna have another look now at another page and see if I can do anything. So just bear with me for a second. Smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get this stream to 400 likes and let's keep on pushing towards 30k as we did hit 29,000 earlier. So thank you very much for your support. The same goes for the super chatters. I'll have a quick look very soon to see if I've missed any. Hopefully I haven't, because sometimes they just don't pop up, unfortunately. So let's see if there's any updates that are worth highlighting. I don't think so, but I'll have another look anyway. So yeah, De Bruyne took part in City training, but he has been ruled out for now. So I think he's just kind of gradually building up his fitness. So no Doku and no Walker. So I think that boosts the chances of Savio starting, for example. So yeah, Doku is also absent from training. Bear that in mind. That's an update we've just got in the last hour. Obviously, Vinicius did score against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League final. Another one to consider for our Limitless teams. We do have a predicted lineup for Liverpool. So Kelleher, Robertson, Van Dijk, Konate, Trent, Gravenberch, Jones, Salah, Szoboszlai, Diaz, and Darwin. That is according to the Anfield talk. Diogo Jota has been ruled out, and McAllister is also doubtful. I don't think he's going to play. So yeah, Darwin should be the number 9. So yeah, very strong front three for Liverpool regardless, and they've got a big game against Arsenal this weekend. So yeah, that's pretty much all the updates. Everything that's been discussed in the last day or so, I've basically said in this live stream at some stage. I'll try to, tell more people, but for the sake of repetition, just bear that in mind. I might not repeat myself too much. We don't know if Lewis is starting, but I think he will. Martinelli or Wirtz? Florian Wirtz. Any team in UCL so far that shock you, either good or bad performance? Brest, very surprising that they're second in the table. Poor performance, tough one. Not sure about poor team that surprised me. I might have to have another look at the league phase table and give you an answer there. Would still go Frimpong, much higher ceiling than Dean? Possibly, but I think Villa are more likely to keep a clean sheet than Bayer Leverkusen. That's the kind of reasoning for potentially doing it. I wouldn't go for Grealish personally, but he is expected to start. You might want to go for him. I personally prefer Foden, Haaland, and a C defender like Lewis or Akanji. I think Ortega starts instead of Edison, but there is a chance it goes the other way. I want to completely avoid that, so that's why I haven't gone for it myself. Dean or Sappacosta on the Limitless? Luca Dean. I've gone for 1-1 Barcelona Bayern Munich. So currently on Raya, Carnecci, Gabriel Hakimi, Rika Lewis, Frimpong, Dean, Lookman, Salah, Foden, Wirtz, Tielemans, Gyökeres, Haaland, Vlahovic. I like that. I might copy it, mate. Thank you very much. Did you see Villain Saga yet? No. I literally just finished Attack on Titan. One of the greatest shows I've ever seen. And yeah, I'll probably watch Death Note soon. And I think Villain Saga will come after that. So don't worry. That's coming for me. I've heard great things about it. Should I sell Musiala? I probably would. He is in contention to play against Barcelona. But I think there are better options over the next 3-4 match days. So who would you go to? Probably Pulisic. I really like that as an option. Or Lookman. For those not sure about Bastoni, go for De Vrij. Yeah, I think De Vrij is more likely to start. That's a great option. Not really. I'm not afraid of it. The thing I'm most afraid of is not locking in my team in time. Or, you know, just kind of overthinking. But I think having 8 players on the Tuesday and 7 on the Wednesday is fine. And that's what I would have with this structure. So it's not ideal. Maybe. I think I've always said 8 is kind of the sweet spot. 8 to 9 is probably the best balance on the Tuesday. But if you have 10 or 11, that's fine. You just don't want to have a situation where you've got 3 on the Tuesday. That could be an issue. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but it just really limits your substitution potential. That's the way I see it. And even the captaincy. So yeah, let's do this now. So Raya and Summer is my current thinking here. Theo Hernandez, Gabriel, Luca Dean, Akanji, Hakimi. I'm fairly settled with that back line, I'm not going to lie. I'm fairly happy with it. Might go for Frimpong over Theo Hernandez or Luca Dean, though. The problem with that, though, is I would then have more players on the Wednesday, which isn't the end of the world, but maybe for balance, it's not the best core. Pulisic, Salah, Wirtz, Foden, Lookman. Yeah, not looking too good on that front either. But I think I'll probably stick with it. I think up front is the most likely area I could change. Like, I could go to Watkins, I could go to Havertz, even Gyökeres. I honestly could see myself changing that. Lewandowski out for Watkins or Gyökeres. What are we talking about though, mate? Are we talking about Limitless? If so, I think Watkins or Gyökeres is fine. I'd probably go for Watkins, but normal transfers? I think Lewandowski is a long-term hold. Gonzalo Inacio is not in the predicted 11. Who's the best defender for the next few games? I'd say one of Kolasinac or Sappacosta are pretty good. The same goes for Rika Lewis. I think one of them would be absolutely fine. Probably 8 points, Alex. I think with 8 points, I won't change it. But with someone like Haaland at home next to Sparta Prague, you might want to reconsider that. I remember once I got 9 points from Immobile on the Tuesday. PSG had a game rescheduled. Then Neymar went absolutely ballistic and got 22 points or something ridiculous. Even when Erling Haaland scored 5 goals against Leipzig, I was kind of cursed because I had a good captain on the previous day. But with people having blanks, it was so easy for them to go to Haaland. And in the end, that decision cost me. So there's never an exact formula, but I think 8 points is enough. Best Inter defender this week, probably De Vrij. I think he's the most likely to start. I've gone for Summer. Grimaldo, Frimpong together on Limitless. Yeah, I really like them as attacking options. So yeah, it does bother me a little bit not going with one of them. So I might just buy them in again. Thank you very much, Alex. Gyökeres or Pulisic captain, is that? Yeah, probably Pulisic for me, but Gyökeres is good. Musiala is back. He's not injured anymore, but he's going to build his fitness up. There's no guarantee he starts. I personally think he'll make a cameo off the bench. With Inter set to rotate, yeah, Taremi's a shout. Definitely. He's another one in my top 10 list for forwards, but there are so many options that makes it difficult. The only reason I wouldn't recommend Taremi for non-Limitless teams is because I don't think he starts against Arsenal in Matchday 4, and that's a tough game anyway. I think the first choice front two is Thuram and Lautaro Martinez, so Taremi is kind of a Matchday free punt. On the Limitless, absolutely fine. Probably Chalky, and it's about time I actually, lock it in. So yeah, I'm using the Limitless. As for the wildcard, I haven't decided fully when, but check out my chip strategy guide to see all the details on the best times to use it. And another point I'd like to add on top of that, which I've said already in this live stream, is if you wildcard in Matchday 8 when everybody plays at the same time, you can essentially build a mini Limitless team because you can't make substitutions as everybody plays at the exact same time. And you can basically put all your money in the starting 11 and fill your bench with very cheap players. So the wildcard in Matchday 8 could be very strong. Yeah, Monaco players, good. I think Van der Sen's my favourite. You might want to go for Mbolo up front, but compared to the fours I discussed earlier, I'm not really feeling it personally. But I think Van der Sen is a good shout, definitely. I would say Limitless over the wildcard this week for most people. Best midfielder on Tuesday other than Pulisic? On Tuesday, good question. I'm struggling for that myself. I'd probably say either Barcola or Martinelli. I'm not really feeling Bellingham at the moment, but he should go back to his position very soon, maybe even this week, which could really help him. Salah or Saka? Salah, mate. I don't think Saka plays. He wasn't in training yesterday. Raya or Sommer? With Raya, I would have only 0.4 million left in the bank. Well, Raya is definitely going to start. With Sommer, there is a slight chance to rotate even in that position, but I personally think he does play. Long term, I'd probably prefer Sommer. Vlahovic or Pulisic captain? Probably Pulisic. En Limitless capitán para hoy. Creo que Pulisic está bien, y si no, un delantero como Mbappé, Watkins o Gyökeres, todo depende de eso, y yo voy a finalizar mi equipo ahora y decidir para mi caso también. So let's do that now. Let's lock in my squad. I think the Limitless is about time I do it. By the way, if you do that, what I just did there, you play the Limitless. It's not active yet until you finalize your transfers. Once you do, it's irreversible. You only get one Limitless and wildcard for the entire tournament, but we do get free transfers, or unlimited transfers, should I say, in Matchday 9 and 11 for the knockout playoff rounds and the knockouts. So yeah, Raya, Sommer, Hernandez, Gabriel Dean, Akanji, Hakimi, Pulisic, Salah, Wirtz, Foden, Lookman, Vlahovic, Mbappe, Haaland. I don't know, man. I don't know why. I have a feeling if I sell this guy, I'm going to regret it. I really feel that way. But yeah, Mbappe against Dortmund is still a great choice. I'm really struggling with this striker, dilemma, because Watkins will be my favourite, but his minutes are a big issue, which was rightly pointed out by viewers. Mbappe is the best player, but he's also got the toughest opponent. And then Gyökeres, his form has died down a little bit, but he's still one of the best forwards in Europe. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this 15-man squad. Not locked in, by the way. Just bear that in mind. I'll probably make more changes on top of this, but I think I'll lock in my Limitless now, just so I've got my bench in order and my captain, just so I avoid complications, which always happens if you make late transfers. I don't think Lautaro starts, Preston. No. Now, I could be wrong about this. It's not a guarantee, but Inter Milan are expected to rotate. They've got Juventus this weekend, and they've also got Arsenal in Matchday 4 in a couple of weeks, which, of course, isn't too relevant, but Inter Milan will go strong enough to win this game against Young Boys, but they can rotate and still get the job done. DeMarco, I'm not sure if he plays, to be honest. I don't think he's in the lineup that I saw earlier on UEFA.com. Some questions have been answered already, even highlighted, so try to bear that in mind. Gyökeres form on the national team was insane still. Yeah, but I think for Sporting, I think he's died down a little bit with the goals and assists. Gvardiol over Akanji. I don't think Gvardiol starts, or at least Akanji has a better chance of starting than Gvardiol, so that's why I'm going for Akanji. I'd go for Foden over Trossard, mate. That's fair enough. I'll probably just go for 2 maximum with Raya and Gabriel, which has been awful for me in FPL. I don't want to even think about it. And they face Liverpool next. But yeah, I'm quite happy with this 50-man squad on the Limitless. Just wondering how many... Oh yeah, it doesn't let me reverse it now, but don't worry, that's not too big of an issue. I wonder how much of a budget I am. Although that's not really too relevant, but yeah, fairly happy with this team. I think I'm going to at least make these transfers and then see where I'm at. Just for reference, this will be my squad if I make 2 free transfers. I would have a suspended goalkeeper. Blažević might not even start. There is a chance he is benched and he's terrible anyway. I've got 3 good defenders, but then I've got Kim Min-jae and Kubarsi, but I could buy Rico Lewis in for the South Korean. My midfield is decent. Wirtz is a good choice, and I'd probably keep him on the Limitless. I can buy Lookman with a free transfer, but Adeyemi, he's out anyway. Gittins, Yamal, and Bellingham, not the strongest in matchday 3. Haaland and Gyökeres looks great. Harry Kane, though, is facing Barcelona, but I have to say, it's really the midfield and defence and goalkeeper. I mean, it's basically everything except the forward line that I'm improving a lot. That's the only position where you might argue there's not really a big upgrade there with my front line. But yeah, I think it's time to do it. If you are playing the wildcard, I'd go for something like this. You can make a few changes depending on your preferences. You could maybe go for Salah instead of Kokchu or a more expensive midfielder, and then downgrade Harry Kane for now, and then buy him later in the campaign. But yeah, even Franco Israel, by the way, another 4 million goalkeeper who's going to start. The same goes for Perrin. So either one will be a great rotating goalkeeper with a Jan Sommer or Oblak maybe. He's another Wednesday goalkeeper who's worth looking at. Yep, I'm going to make these transfers now. It's time. It is bloody time. We've got 40 minutes left. As you can see, these are all the changes in detail. Kane to Vlahovic, Bellingham to Pulisic, Yamal to Salah, Gittins to Foden, Trent to Theo Hernandez, Saliba to Gabriel, which is kind of sideways you could say, Grimaldo to Dean, Blazovic to Raya, Di Gregorio to Sommer, and Kim Min-jae to Akanji, Kubarsi to Kimi, and finally, Kimmich to Lookman. So that's done. Let's now go to my starting 11, and hopefully the Limitless pays off. I have a pretty good track record with this in the previous years. I think only once has it been a bit underwhelming. I'm hoping I can get this spot on here as well. Make sure that those playing on the Tuesday are in your starting 11. So as you can see here, Hakimi is on my bench. I'm going to bring him on now into my starting 11. So what I'm going to do here is sub out, it could just be anyone, but probably Florian Wirtz or Foden. We'll do that. And that is it. In terms of captaincy, by the way, Gyökeres is not nailed on in my setup, but I think one of Gyökeres, Vlahovic or Pulisic will be my first captain. And that's what I'm looking at. So let's see. Let us see. On the bench, I've got Sommer, Akanji, Wirtz, and Lookman. Although it's not too relevant, I just like doing this. I just put Wirtz first on the bench. I put Lookman second and Akanji third. But ultimately, you want to be in control of your substitutions. And once you make any changes, which includes the captaincy, automatic subs are cancelled. And basically, you have to rely on players missing out. Anyway, you want to be in charge and in control of making subs between the Tuesday and the Wednesday. So if Pulisic or whoever I captain in the end blanks, I'll probably go for Erling Haaland on the Wednesday. But Foden is a nice alternative. Even Salah would be a nice shout. But I think Haaland at home is just an incredible prospect against Sparta Prague. So that is my current setup. It's not locked in, by the way, but the Limitless is, of course, active and I can't change it. So that is pretty much done. I'm going to get rid of this screen, which shows you the possible transfers I could have made. Hopefully I don't end up regretting it. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Which strikers would you go for? Ollie Watkins, Kai Havertz, maybe Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., and who would you sell? The same goes for the other positions. I think Grimaldo or Frimpong will be heavily discussed in the live chat. We will see that very soon. Let's get through some super chats first, though. So Dean to Grimaldo or Frimpong. I'm not going to say one over the other right now. I'll do it before the deadline for sure, because I'm going to finalise that certain decision myself. I'm very conflicted about it. Now, I think Aston Villa have a better chance of a clean sheet, but in terms of attacking potential, goals or assists, I think Frimpong or Grimaldo are better. But Brest away isn't the easiest of games. They are second in the league phase table after all. So I've currently gone for Luca Dean, but I could see myself reversing this transfer and going back to one of Grimaldo or Frimpong. Tiggy Taylor puts his Limitless squad. So let me just have a sip of water and I'll be reading your team. So Zakaria, Pulisic, Wirtz, Salah, Rafinha, keep Rafinha, Capitan, Mbappe, Gyökeres or Pulisic. My current preference is Pulisic for the captain. But on the Limitless, I wouldn't go for Zakaria. I know he did very well on Matchday 1, and look, if you have a good feeling about these players, go for them. Don't let me discourage you, but Zakaria is a holding midfielder. I wouldn't go for him on the Limitless chip. As for Pulisic versus Salah, really good. Rafinha could do very well in a potentially high-scoring game between Bayern Munich and Barcelona, but I think that's a very tough game to call, and as a result, I want to kind of steer clear from those two teams at the moment, but I don't think it's the end of the world to go for a Kane or Lewandowski or a Yamal/Rafinha. I think that's still viable. Rafinha's been amazing for a couple of months now, since March basically, so that's not a bad shout. But I do prefer the midfielders you said, Pulisic, Wirtz, Salah. Phil Foden for me is better than Rafinha this week, and maybe an Arsenal attacker like Trossard or Martinelli are even better, not to mention Barcola and Lookman. I think all of these choices would probably be better. That's the way I see it. Let me know your thoughts there, Tiggy Taylor, and Paredes as well. Kane or Lewandowski on the wildcard? Harry Kane, but Lewandowski's a really good choice. I don't think Barcola is on pens for PSG, no. If I'm wrong about that, correct me in the live chat. I'd pick Frimpong over Hakimi. That's fair. That's fair. I think a key reason why I would maybe go for Hakimi is because he plays on the Tuesday and he's at home. But yeah, PSV isn't a great fixture. So that's a fair point. Fair point. Vlahovic or Havertz? Limitless Vlahovic. Now look, I've recommended Vlahovic all week. I like him a lot. I might end up going back to him, to be honest. I reckon Dean gets rested. The thing is, though, I've said that all along, you know, for so many weeks, and it's never happened. I think a safer option would be Emi Martinez in goal or Pau Torres. But just in case, because I want to have a backup plan, let's refresh this page as well, by the way. So let's get to the transfer section here. So let's possibly make some changes. Pau Torres, Frimpong. Yeah, I've got some big decisions to make here. It's mainly in the defence and forward line. I'm fairly settled on the midfield. I think that's quite easy to build, especially with no Saka, possibly. Barcola or Gyökeres captain? Gyökeres. Barcola over Wirtz for Dylan's team? Yeah, possibly. That's a good shout. Pick 2, Vlahovic, Leao, Gyökeres, Watkins. Gyökeres and probably Vlahovic. I really like Watkins. I think Leao would be the bottom one there. I've got a feeling that Mbappe, Haaland, and Salah will blank. I mean, I don't know about that, mate. Haaland blanking this week? Surely not. ¿Puedes cambiar el capitán el mismo día? No, no puedes hacer eso. Solo puedes cambiar el capitán para alguien que no juegue, que no ha jugado y que juegue el miércoles. No puedes hacer eso. What's up next? Konsa or Bastoni? Well, if you were to go for a Villa defender, go for Luka Dean or Pau Torres. I think Pau Torres is your safest bet. Why would Dean get arrested? Don't scare me, people. No, it's not information, I think, Goldhead. It's just because Maatsen, you know, made quite a high-profile move to Aston Villa. He's not really gotten any starts so far this season, and it's a plum home game where, you know, if Maatsen came in for Dean, it's not the end of the world for Villa. They can still get the win. It's not really a big downgrade, but I think Luka Dean's been very impressive in the last couple of months, but especially, I have to say, recently. Saka starting? I don't think so. Otherwise, I'd go for him, mate. Yeah, Trossard should start. Calafiori, good option, but I wouldn't go for him personally. I think Gabriel, Raya, and Saliba are all better to cover that Arsenal defence. On the wildcard, my mid is Mo Salah, Pulisic, Rodgers, Foden, Lookman, and a front three of Vlahovic, Haaland, Watkins. Any changes? Thinking about Lewandowski, Lamine, and maybe Wirtz. Really strong team, though. I think in the coming weeks, I would buy those players, especially Lewandowski and Lamine. With Wirtz, though, if you don't buy him now, I'm not sure when you do buy him. Just trying to think here. Yeah, I think I'd probably stick with what you have, actually. Unless you could afford Wirtz for Lookman now, I'd maybe suggest that, but I think your setup is spot on. Retegi's good, but he's not the most nailed-on player in general, and I already have Lookman, so I don't want to double up on Atalanta offensively. I have him with Haaland and Gyökeres. That's fine. It's a really strong front three, but yeah, I'm not completely convinced about Retegi. I think he's good, but not the best. Three differential midfielders, Pulisic, Lookman, and Barcola. They would be three pretty good ones. Theo Hernandez or Hakimi? Tough one. Probably Theo Hernandez if I had to pick one. I'm using the Limitless, mate. This would not be affordable for wildcarders. So I'm going to go to... Let's see if I can put a poll out very quickly, but honestly, it's we're approaching the end now, and it's time to lock in our squads. Yeah, Saka not in the squad. I'm not sure how reliable that source is, but thank you for putting it, Squidward. Mbappe or Vlahovic? I'm honestly 50-50 on it. I'm very conflicted. That's the biggest decision I've got to make. You know, who do I go for? At the moment, I'd say Vlahovic, but I could see myself just swinging from one to the other. So yeah, it's just not ideal. Let's see if I can put a poll though and remove this pinned comment. So, anything is like, just give me a second there. So yeah, we've literally got less than 5 minutes. It's now 4 minutes to go. Try to ensure your teams are locked in and don't make late changes like I am. So which forward you go for? I mean, honestly, I'm in two minds about this. Yeah, guys laughing. I think you know me by now, don't you? You don't need to sell Di Gregorio, but if you've got Blažević, Nestor, I'm not sure if Blažević starts. Hay una posibilidad que Blažević no va a empezar el partido, así que cuidado. Yeah, Bader, I wanted Watkins, or I'm very tempted by him, but I'm a bit concerned about his minutes. If Villa are 2 or 3-0 up, you could see Duran starting or coming on for him. That's my concern with him. So, yeah, let's lock in our teams now. So, Frimpong in for either Luka Dean, Hakimi is a possibility for me. I think, you know what, I'm gonna do this. Luka Dean. The only problem with this is I've now got more players on the Wednesday as things stand. Gyökeres, Haaland, Vlahovic looks pretty good. I'm still very tempted by Watkins and also, yeah, even there's a lot of options I'm tempted by, to be honest. Mbappe as well, Havertz. But I think I'm going to make these two changes and bring in Frimpong and Watkins. So I'm kind of backing Villa a lot here against Bologna. Best 5 million defender. I think I've covered this before. Rico Lewis would be up there. I think he starts. Good luck, Keith. Let's see how you go. Vlahovic is not a good pick. I think he's a good choice, but maybe he's not the best one. You're right. I mean, maybe I've backed him a bit too much. I mean, he scored a brace against RB Leipzig away with 10 men. That's very impressive. But yeah, Juventus aren't the most reliable. I think Watkins over Vlahovic will be my final assessment. I will say that. Haaland for me is the best striker on paper. I am thinking about Vlahovic to Mbappe or possibly Gyökeres. I am thinking about that. The only thing that puts me off Gyökeres a little bit is the fact that he's away from home. If he was at home, I think I'd be very, he's locked in my team, even on the Limitless, for example. So, yeah, with just 2 minutes left, I'm going to make these transfers now and make sure this is all done. Yeah, I think this is about it. Gyökeres has scored a lot of penalties this season, by the way. Bloody hell, a lot of penalties. But yeah, I think I'm going to do this. Emre Can or Lewis? I prefer Rico Lewis, but Emre Can is still a good option. Havertz will cook? Possibly, but I'm a bit less convinced with no Saka. Sturmgrass also away from home technically. That's a good point. That is a good point. It seems like you know what you're doing. I do like Vlahovic still, by the way, but yeah, we've literally got 1 minute left. So let's make these transfers now. It's either Gyökeres or Mbappe coming in. And I think I'm going for Gyökeres. Yeah, Gyökeres and Frimpong. Yeah, I think that's it. That is my final 50-man squad, I believe. I might even captain Ollie Watkins, by the way, but just let's make sure that everyone, yeah. Those on my bench are playing on Wednesday, the 23rd of October. I do have more playing on the Wednesday. So Raya, Theo Hernandez, Dean, Gabriel, Pulisic, Watkins, Gyökeres are all playing on the Tuesday. So that's 7 on the 22nd and also 8 on the Wednesday, the 23rd of October. Yeah, not the best, not the most ideal. Luka Dean as well. You know what? Just in case, I'm very nervous about this guy starting. Just in case, I might just go for Pau Torres. Yeah, bloody hell. I mean, what am I doing? Imagine Pau Torres gets benched now. Is this the right call? I mean, we're locked in anyway, aren't we? Let's see if I can actually do it. Yeah, the round is locked. If Luka Dean gets benched, I'm going to cry. But there we go. We're locked in. Pulisic is my first captain. Haaland will be my backup. So let's see how it all goes. A few late changes, like I said. It's always a possibility with my streams. But yeah, Vlahovic, Mbappe, I just hope they are quiet now because otherwise I will have some regrets. You can't cover them all, kids. You can't. You really can't. And I'm saying that even though I'm probably younger than many people watching. Bernardo Silva, Martinelli or Lookman. My favourite is Lookman. That's why I went for him, mate. Logged in. Good luck as well, Cylindra. Thank you very much. Yep. Good luck, everyone. Likewise, Felix. The chat made me panic about Dean now. I've got no Benfica either, and they are flying. Yeah, Kokchu was definitely one I was looking at, but on the Limitless, I do prefer these options instead. Rate my team. I have Saka captain. Like I mentioned many times in the stream, mate, I don't think Saka plays. He wasn't in the training session yesterday. The same goes for Timber. The rest of your squad looks very strong. Is that a Limitless, though? If it is, I'm wondering about some of your picks. Like Courtois and Anton. Yeah, if you got Courtois and Kobo, I don't know why you did that, because they both play on Tuesday. They both play today. And what you want to do is make sure that you have a goalkeeper on the Wednesday and the Tuesday so you can make substitutions. So just be careful about that. If Dean is benched, I'll rage like someone did on Uncharted. No names. Good luck, Chelsea Blues, and good luck, Turnan Brie. It's time for a comeback because Matchday 2 was very disappointing for me. Hopefully the Limitless can bail me out. It's a very strong team on paper. I'm just a bit concerned about a few things. I think Sommer, there is an odd chance he's benched. Luca Dean, I don't know why, but alarm bells are ringing. Maybe that's just insecurity. And also, what else is there that could maybe backfire? Well, just the strikers I didn't go for, like Mbappe and Vlahovic, but let's just wait and see. Good luck, everybody. I hope you do really well in Matchday 3 and enjoy it, most importantly of all. Gyökeres to score an assist today? I hope so, because I kept him despite limitlessing. Hakimi or Theo Hernandez? I think Theo Hernandez. I mean, that's what I went for in the end. That's another one. If Hakimi does really well and scores or something, I will be kicking myself. Good luck, Akash. I am with Luca Dean. Let's go. Yeah, look, Dean is a bit of a risky one because Maatsen is a good player. So, see you as well, Baraf. Good luck, Valen, the Don. For your own sake, Dylan, be sure you want your team before starting stream so you don't panic at the end. You think more about the stream, then be sure about your team. I get what you're saying, but I do... Look, I gave it a good amount of thought before starting the live stream. Now, sometimes I just don't have enough time, and I'm literally setting up the stream and doing other stuff, so I don't have as much time to think about my team in advance, but I did do it this time. Trust me, I had a good idea. I posted it for patrons and channel members well in advance before the stream even started, so they kind of had a good idea of my thinking anyway. I listed all the players I could possibly go for, a pool of players. Luca Dean was one of them, for example, so there it is. Trossard is my differential. I hope it goes well for you, mate. I really do. Best time for Limitless? Any time between Matchday 2 to 7 is team dependent. I just wouldn't use it in Matchday 8, as discussed earlier. Matchday 3 for a lot of people was a really good time to use it. I changed Mbappe for Vlahovic. Mate, I went from... I don't know what I did. I went from Mbappe to Watkins, to Gyökeres, to Vlahovic. I just went all over the place with these forwards. Oh, not Limitless. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, the problem with goalkeepers is... You know, they kind of clash very often, don't they? So, yeah, it's very hard to find a goalkeeper pairing that play on different days. So I think Franco Israel or Perrin with Sommer is a very good duo, which could work very well in the long term, should they continue to start. Let's wait and see. Good luck, Jorge. Same here, Ghost. I think that's the key motto from this stream. I hope I don't regret it. Thank you, A10 as well. Good luck. Wirtz or Barcola? Florian Wirtz, but yeah, maybe Wirtz is a bit of a minute's risk, you are right, and Brest away isn't the easiest of games, but ultimately I do prefer Wirtz, if I'm being honest. If I think he plays 70 plus minutes, which I do, I'd always go for Wirtz. But just to make it clear, by the way, I wasn't panicking at the end, I was just overthinking. If I was panicking, I'd be like, I don't know what to do. Let's calm down, calma. Good luck, Dylan. Likewise, Olsen. Captain Vlahovic. Oof. Good luck, mate. Good luck. I ended up selling him. Let's see if I regret it or not. I've Captain Havertz on Limitless. Gone with Barcola over Pulisic. Good stuff. Trubin, I think, was better than Sommer. I disagree, but if Sommer doesn't play, then you're right automatically. Good luck, Golve. I Captain Leao. Yeah, hopefully Milan can do something. I mean, captaining a Milan player is just very risky. I know that. Oh, for a second, you got my heart racing. Left in on the bench, yeah. That's always the problem with late transfers, and I did a few of them myself, but yeah, it's not ideal, is it? Did Lookman for Cook minus, Kalulu for Kim In-jae, and -4 for Atalanta goalkeeper, only to find out Blažević and the latter play on the same day. Ooh. Well, Blažević probably won't play, actually. In the lineup I saw on UEFA.com, Blažević wasn't there. Instead it was Schlager, so maybe. If you've started the Atalanta goalkeeper, you should be fine. Yes, he will be back. It's only a one-match ban, but Perrin might start again. It all depends on how Thiago Motta sees the situation. Hopefully he provides some clarity on that, because I'm at Wildcard in Matchday 4. My goalkeepers are an absolute mess. Good luck, Alex. Club Brugge almost scored. Yeah, not good with Theo Hernandez and Pulisic in my setup. I didn't have time to make subs, and Vlahovic and Pulisic are locked on the bench. Oh, that's just not ideal. It really isn't. So kind of you're hoping for them to blank, really, so you don't regret it. You look nervous. Mate, I'm not nervous. The only time I was nervous was when someone said, oh, I benched Luka Dean, because that made me think, wait, did I bench him? Trust me, I'm not. That's not me panicking. You don't want to see me panicking. Good luck, Tiggy Taylor, and thank you very much. Good luck, Abraham. Crazy, I'm ranked #1 in my country for Predict 6. Really impressive. Good luck, Dylan, Gikresh captain. I hope he does well. I really do. Martin, buena suerte para vos también. I went with Trent last minute over Hakimi. I mean, Trent is a better option, plays in a much better team, but it is away from home against Leipzig. That's the only problem. Good luck, Johnny Quid. Going without Haaland, wish me luck. Good luck, mate. I mean, I just always go for Haaland this season, and I mean, there have been some great moments. I triple captained him in Game Week 2 in FPL, but 3 blanks in a row in the Premier League. I mean, that's really surprising. Even in UCL, he's been very underwhelming. Let's see if he finally delivers. Good luck, bro. I captain Gabriel. Hopefully a bullet header and an Arsenal clean sheet. Best time to wildcard? I can't say for everybody, mate. It's really difficult for me to give an answer without knowing the context of your team. You know, you could look at something like Matchday 4 or 5, the midway point of the league phase. As I mentioned earlier, Matchday 8, so you can essentially build a Limitless squad by putting all your money in the starting 11 and having a cheap bench. And then, of course, my strategy that I discussed in my guide a few weeks ago is maybe saving it for the knockout stages. But I have to say, at the moment, I'm kind of leaning towards using it early. I use the Limitless, Julian. I think Vlahovic will hit double digits. I hope not. I think he's going to score. I just hope he doesn't go ballistic. Captain Martinelli, 2 goals and 1 assist. I think Martinelli will do well. I think so. But, yeah, I just wasn't brave enough to go for him. Ended up captaining Gikresh. Yeah, a few Gikresh captains here. I like that. Gundogan or Foden? Foden. I captained Watkins. I was really tempted by captaining Watkins, but the minutes pushed me towards Pulisic. But let's wait and see. I might regret it. Thoughts on my transfers, Dylan? Yeah, it looks good. The only thing is, what's that -4? Oh, Di Gregorio to Martinez. Not a big fan of goalkeeper transfers for a hit, but if your second choice is Blazwich or, you know, someone who's not starting, then fair enough. I think that makes sense. Sporting Aliz. Yeah, I hope Sporting cook today. FPL, I mean, Chris Wood got me 7 points yesterday, but it's not great. I got a red arrow. FPL's been just shambolic since Game Week 4. I don't know why now. That's back-to-back years where I start well. In the first 2-3 game weeks, I'm around 200k. It's literally identical, and then I just have a bad period. So just need to get out of it, and I think I will, but it's not looking great. Yeah, triple captain Haaland against Wolves. I thought it was a good option. I really did. I thought he'd get one. My favourite. I said that before. But it's also a bit riskier with minutes, which I also highlighted in the recent streams. I went back and forth. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Martinelli and Barcola. Yeah, I think for a similar reason, I would have gone for Barcola instead. But I do like Martinelli. I've got a feeling about him this week. Don't like early captains. It's probably an FPL thing, isn't it? But I don't think too much about that, to be honest. I mean, either way, in UCL Fantasy, it's not a big deal. You've got another chance if it doesn't go well. But yeah, I think with Pulisic, it's mainly the midfielder aspect, the minutes potential compared to Watkins, who might be subbed off early. Who knows? Yeah, just covered that, mate. The wildcard is not set in for me. It all depends on my team. It might be Matchday 4, Matchday 8, and if not, I might save it for later in the season. What do you think Milan results will be? 2-1 Milan. Hopefully 2-0, but yeah, I'll probably just say 2-1 Milan. Club Brugge playing well. That's great, isn't it? Maniam with a great save just now. Yeah, not a good start for Milan based on what the live chat is saying. I'm not watching the games at the moment, but yeah, it's typical, isn't it? Best time for Limitless, between match days 2 and 7. It's been covered already to death. Milan should have considered 3 goals already. Yeah, I just hope they can shithouse a clean sheet and Pulisic scores the winning goal. Good luck for this week, Dylan. I decided to go super differential in UCL this season, and I'm currently ranked 3k. Good stuff. Trossard captain today. Well, hopefully you got the Midas touch and Trossard cooks. Bologna is not an easy team to beat, especially an Italian team, even though their performance is not like last season. Yeah, but they've been underwhelming in the Champions League. Of course, Liverpool beat them comprehensively. I think Villa will keep a clean sheet, but who knows? Maybe. I don't want to speak too soon, but I just hope UCL Fantasy goes well. Yeah, Milan not looking good, but it's early days, isn't it? It's early days. This season is mad in FPL, hard to predict anything. I just think also the timing is very important. So I didn't start the season with Arsenal defenders. They keep clean sheets for fun. I buy them in with great fixtures coming up, and they can't keep a clean sheet to stay alive. So yeah, timing is very important in these fantasy games. Made one mistake, Raya bench and Sommer starting, panicked when setting the team and missed it. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't make that change because, yeah, you can't make subs until after all the games are done on the Tuesday, which is unfortunate. Otherwise, that would have been handy. Well, my captain is Pulisic, but not expecting anything based on what people are saying. I have Doku. Sorry, Bada, I covered this literally towards the very end. I think maybe 20, 30 minutes ago. Doku wasn't in training, so it's looking very unlikely that he's going to play, mate. Give Haaland captain last chance against Southampton. If he's not performing, I'll captain another player. Yeah, I mean, that's my plan. And even in a couple of weeks, I might just go without Haaland in FPL, but I'll talk more about that in the FPL videos and podcasts. Got Taremi as a punt on my Limitless. I think subs allow one to be more aggressive in UCL Fantasy than FPL last week. I got Lewandowski for Mbappe, captain him with Adeyemi, and that paid off. Vlahovic is my captain. Yeah, exactly that. And that's why maybe having more on the Tuesday than the Wednesday is ideal in UCL Fantasy, but with my current setup, I've actually got an imbalance, technically. Okay, yeah, FPL questions. We'll probably save this more for the FPL deadline stream, mate. And there's also a lot of games coming up. So, yeah, I'll just give you a brief answer, but this could definitely change by the deadline stream. So, out of what you're saying, I think my preference would be the third option. So, use 2 free transfers. So, not necessarily Johnson or Maddison, but one of them, and I'd say Cunha. Actually, you know what? Wissa, yeah. Number 3 is my favourite option, Sudindra, because you also keep Trent. I disagree, but let's wait and see. I would kind of be very aggravated by that because I had no Villa at one stage with my Limitless team, or just one in Martinez, actually. What's your differential, Dylan? Well, there's a lot in this team, mate. Pulisic, Luka Dean, their differentials, Lookman, Ollie Watkins. So yeah, plenty of differentials in my setup. If Pulisic gets like an 8-pointer, are you switching captaincy to Haaland? I'll probably stick, but Haaland at home to Sparta Prague, I don't know. I just see him scoring 2 or 3 goals, so there is still a temptation to change it, but let's see if Pulisic actually scores, mate. At the moment, it doesn't look likely, but I'm actually more concerned about Hernandez just keeping a clean sheet. Captain Vlahovic, hope he'll give a decent return. Good luck, mate. Although I hope Vlahovic blanks because I did have him and sold him, so kind of ownership bias there. I'm hoping that he doesn't do well. Best captain for second day of UCL? Probably Haaland. Otherwise, looking at Salah or Foden, I think, are some of the best options. So no goals at the moment, but as soon as I say that, there'll be a goal. So let's see who scores. Hopefully not Club Brugge. Captain doesn't really matter today, says Callum Jr. Everyone will captain Haaland. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. There was the scenario I had where I had a good captaincy option. I think it was Immobile. And because I had a good captain, I didn't go to Neymar on the following day, whilst most people had a captaincy blank and just went for Neymar. And in the end, he went absolutely ballistic. Then, of course, with the Erling Haaland 5 goals against Leipzig, I had a good captain, so I didn't switch it. And then he just does, the rest is history. So sometimes it can be a curse to have a good first choice captaincy because it prevents you from having the big haul on the following day. Thank you very much, Ahmed. You're the best FPL content creator at the moment. Very underrated. Much love, Dylan. Thank you very much for the kind words and good luck for Matchday 3 and, of course, in FPL. Jesus to play over Havertz, especially with the Liverpool game. I'm not so sure about that, mate. Havertz plays virtually every single game. All right, Dylan. Currently, I'm leaning towards option 1 because I want Palmer and I don't mind selling Trent. Yeah, fair enough. Like I said, in the deadline stream, I'll probably have a different answer because information is very important. I do like the Palmer transfer, to be fair. I mean, despite Arsenal at home in game week 11, I could see him hauling against Newcastle, Man United, and then long-term, Palmer is just a kind of a lock in your FPL team. But Trent is also exceptional. Ideally, you'd have both of them, but sometimes that's not the case. Thank you to everyone for watching. It's been a blast talking to you for the last few hours. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe for new. Our aim is to get this stream to 400 likes and to keep on pushing towards 30,000 subscribers and beyond. We hit 29k today, so thank you very much. And also to all the super chatters, patrons, and channel members. I'm going to do a quick shout out actually of all the channel members and patrons now. So thank you very much. So big up to Abhishek, to Francisco, Ghana24, Aranya, Adnan, Gary, Callum Jr., Dergish, Harrison James, Safer, Tommy Raw, Waising, Ahmed, Bestie, Arda Merich, Exotic Log, Miguel Mario, Don Brew, Gopal, Toronto Tokyo, Dan Dada, Kenny Silvera, Gabriel, Ventislav, Unruly DMV, Rishi, Nathama, Maro Rodriguez, Aman, Jazabi, Lavanier, Simon Spears, Ulysses, Keith, Vaer, George Popescu, Alex Leadham, Gabra Fernandez, John G, Valentin Mercier, Aldo Victoria, Chad Vogler, Laurentiu, Notre Dame, Luke O'Donnell, Daniel Zaremba, Salman, also to Stephen Reed, Juan, Doran, Matt Steen, Nikhil Patel, Alex Orlov, Luis Alexander, Rodrigo Urias, and Federico Caliso. A big up to all of you for supporting the channel, and good luck in Matchday 3. And of course for FPL, keep your eyes peeled because I did upload the transfer tips for Game Week 9 earlier. So yesterday was a double upload, today's a double upload, and just enjoy it. And tomorrow will be the best wildcard team for Game Week 9 in FPL. On Thursday will be the team selection, and on Friday, the deadline stream. And of course, the reaction stream will probably be on Saturday, and UCL Fantasy content will come along just before we get the next deadline. Good luck, Dylan. Thanks for all the help as usual. Thank you very much, Gilberto. Massively appreciated. Carried by Keane this game week. That's nice. Just bear in mind that Branthwaite could come back in for him. He is first choice, of course, and if he's available, Keane will drop to the bench. See you next stream as well, Callum Jr., and also to Bresser. Roy Martin says, have a good one, Dylan. See you later. Likewise. Twister Parker doing very well in FPL. Currently 60k. Need advice. So number 1, Archer and Salah for Solanke and Saka. Number 2, Foden for Saka. Then in game week 10 to 12 to get Salah and Arch for Foden and Solanke. Number 3, Son for Saka. Then get Salah and Archer for Son and Solanke. My favourite... Oh, that's a tough one. Salah is the best option of the lot, if I'm being completely honest. But he does face Arsenal away next, so the timing is a little bit off. If Saka's available, I'd keep him, to be quite honest with you. But if he isn't, I think the best course of action is probably to do number 3. Yeah, I think number 3 is the best course of action if Saka isn't available. Fair enough, Twister Parking. Let me know how it goes, and good luck with your transfers. FPL Kevy says, cheers, mate. See you at the weekend. Green arrows for all. Likewise. Hopefully some UCL Fantasy points and AC Milan get their act together. Thank you to Twister Parky and everybody else. Enjoy the football. Good luck for UCL Fantasy and FPL. I'll see you very soon for more content like the best wildcard and the team selection podcast coming right up. Take care. Enjoy the football. And I'll see you very soon.